To the Glorious Party. Today we are going to exploring the first ever FOAMSTARS official competition. I am Kenny Barlow, and joined with me, my wonderful co-caster who's going to be guiding us through the day is going to be Falco Flyer. Welcome everybody, and I'm very excited about this. I've had my hands on the game. I've gotten to play. I know you've gotten to play. Are you excited for the first ever competition?
Kenny, I am so excited. This game has been out for about 2.5 weeks, and we are just jumping right into it with our very first FOAMSTARS tournament happening just weeks after the game came out. It is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, super awesome to see what these guys come up with. We're kind of inventing the competitive meta here today. We've got 8 characters in the game, all very unique. I'm very excited to see what these players can do and take them to another level. Like I said, I've gotten to play it, you've gotten to play it. It's been a very good time, and of course, with our first competitive experience, there's going to be somebody who can claim the title of first ever FOAMSTARS champion.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be great. Today we have 8 teams who will be facing off in this bracket to see who's going to claim the top prize. Let's take a look here and see what is going to be the rundown for the day. We're going to have a best of 3 double elimination going into the first round, and then a best of 5 grand finals with a potential bracket reset. The game mode that we're going to be playing is called Smash the Star, and if we get to it, because Kenny, we've been talking about this for a while, it can be pretty tricky, there will be a rubber duck party tiebreaker match. So it should be fantastic. It's going to be a lot of fun. And before we get started, let's talk about Smash the Star. What is that mode, Kenny?
Yeah, Smash the Star is a really interesting one. It's a little bit of a deathmatch format in the sense that each team is going to be competing against each other, trying to take stocks off the other player. You get 7 lives apiece, and when you run out of those, you actually get a player on your team that is deemed the Superstar. So the Superstar is almost like a raid boss, if you want to think of it that way. A little extra health points and such. The object of the game is to try and get all the eliminations on the other team, take out their Superstar before yours gets taken out. So it's a really interesting and unique game mode. It's been cool to kind of see through the qualifying stages for those that streamed it that are competing here tonight, to kind of see how everybody got to that and got here today through that game mode.
Yeah, certainly. It is definitely a very fun mode to watch and to play, certainly being on both sides of that spectrum. Let's take a look at the bracket that we're going to be having today. Once again, there are going to be 7 teams that are going to be playing today in our tournament, and we've had 2 qualifiers that have happened the last 2 weeks, and you can see these 7 teams here on the left side. FOAMSTARS getting that bye and getting to the semifinals, but our contestants today are FOAMSTARS, I'm Foaming, South Park Foamers, Komodo, Let's Cook, Goon Stars, and Celicious. So, like we said, a lot of these teams, 4 of them came from one of the qualifiers, 3 of them came from another qualifier, so they earned their spot to be here, Kenny.
Yeah, all of them had to compete to get along this journey. Of course, FOAMSTARS getting through the first qualifier and going all the way through, staying undefeated to get there. So I'm really impressed with them. There's a reason why they're getting that bye. But on the other end, there are some really strong teams as well. Komodo is somebody that I'm keeping my eye out for. It was somebody that I got to see through the qualifying stages and was really impressed with their gameplay in particular. But I'm sure all of these teams are going to be great. We're kind of writing the story of competitive FOAMSTARS here today. This is the first ever competition. So all these guys can kind of cement their legacy and go for that Foam Hall of Fame.
And they're not just playing for bragging rights, they are playing for a prize pool. We have a total of $5,000 here at stake. The first place team is going to get $3,000, second place $1,000, and the third and fourth place will be taking away $500 themselves. And of course, we cannot forget the awesome skins from the slide boards that these players are going to receive today.
Yeah, that is a big part of it. Going to be able to show off that in-game whenever they're playing. A big chunk of change, and also just the legacy that comes with it. The first ever tournament of a game is special, and these guys, for the rest of their lives, if they end up being one of the 4 players that come out on top, are going to be able to claim that they won the very first. Super awesome, a big part of this PlayStation tournament series, and I am super stoked to see what these guys can do here today. Of course, there are going to be a lot of unique characters along the way. We already mentioned it. There are 8 different ones in this game mode in-game that you can play. There's a lot of them that I expect to see be consistent, but since it's such a fresh game, there's such a new meta, all these guys are going to kind of be dictating that. So I'm curious to see if we get a diversification or if it's a solved meta, if there are only 4 characters that are going to be selected every single time.
Yeah, and let's talk about some of those characters that we're going to be seeing today. First with Soa, who I feel like is one of the most popular characters to play. You know, they're one of those players that it's just really easy to use, easy to have fun with, a close range speed style, easy aim twin handguns, and high mobility skills. And of course, we don't want to forget about the 2 skills that are attached to each player along with their superstar skills. You know, these are the types of abilities that take a while to recharge, and then you can just kind of unleash all of your foam all over the turf. And I think Soa is just such a fun character to play.
I think so too, and honestly, when going through that qualifying stages of the matches that I personally saw, I don't think Soa missed a single one of them on either team. I feel like Soa has been a must-have for these teams. I think in terms of personal playing experience, the bubble step is one of the coolest skills that they've added in the game. Being able to go airborne and just get some big-time shots off in the air is something that makes her special, and height obviously going to be a very big factor throughout the day. The dual pistols making her unique as well, and there's other characters that kind of fit this offensive play style. Some are going to have more of that shotgun route. Somebody like Agito, for example, is going to be a great choice if you want to get up close and personal with other people. I think Agito brings a lot as well. I love the shuriken that he can throw, that storm shot, a big pathway, and if you're a really good player, you can kind of use that projectile to bounce yourself in the air, so he has a mechanism for that as well. And the deep blue gank, the skill number 1 that he's got, you can literally go underwater, under the foam, and just surprise attack people. Agito is the perfect assassin character.
Yeah, and we don't want to forget about their superstar skill, the Thanks GG, this giant shark that comes out of under the ground and can chase down nearby rivals. Such a fun character to play. One of my favorites, in fact, that we have seen so far in this game.
Yeah, for a shotgun character, he was a ton of fun, but with a couple character breakdowns, 6 other ones that we may see in these matches as well. But we're going to be hopping into the action here very shortly with our match number 1, and this is going to be Komodo versus Let's Cook. Komodo, a team that I'm looking out for today. These 4 players really proving themselves through the qualifier stage, and I think are going to be in the mix to try and win this entire competition.
Yeah, and I think one of the best parts is, since a lot of these players have been streaming their point of views, we've been able to get a little bit of inside scoop on what they've been playing, their play style, maybe some of how their communication has been like that. I was talking to Reborn a little bit ago, and he was mentioning, like, we've really been practicing for this tournament. We've been having a lot of fun, and this game is just amazing, and it's really a team effort game. It's not really a game where you can have one person just pop off and carry the team. It's very team centric, especially in a mode like Smash the Star, where it all comes down to protecting that one player who's alive and defending them, while at the same time being on offense and making sure you're working as a unit and foaming and chilling the other team.
Yeah, there are a ton of factors that go into it. A lot of depth that can happen in this game mode, in this game in general, whether that's character selection, whether that's how you shape the map. So Let's Cook, the other team here, definitely going to have their hands full, considering that Komodo have definitely been practicing their craft in game to get ready for this. Equitized, Hollows, Hemlocks, Water. They are going to be some great candidates as well. I think this is going to be really interesting to see if they end up bringing similar compositions. A lot of players, from what I've been able to tell from this qualifier stages, have kind of picked one character to really master, especially considering we're only about 2.5 weeks, like you said earlier, into this game. So not everybody's had time to master, put in a ton of hours to every one of these characters, but maybe a couple of them that they specialize in and can bring to the table depending on the map. So I'm curious to see what differences we get, or if they're exactly the same and both of these teams have come to the same conclusion.
Right, and I think it's important to point out that you can't choose more than one of the same character per your team. So you're not going to have a team full of the Soas, full of the Agitos. You have to, like you said, you're going to have to specialize in a character and really bring all that you can to the table, because with 8 characters, you might take a little bit of time to feel what works well for you, but once you locked on, once you know what character you want, that's the one that you're going to want to roll with.
Absolutely. I mean, got to make the most of the time that we've had, and obviously these guys are all going to bring whatever they've got to the table here for our tournament here today. Like we said earlier, I've seen a lot of Soas, I've seen a lot of Agitos, but there's still several other characters that are very unique in that sense. There's a couple shotgun characters, for example. Do they end up going Agito, or do they go in a different direction? There's characters like Jet Justice, all-arounders. There's some tricksters in there too, like Rave Breaker. I'm really pumped to kind of see how these guys shape the map, if they go for more of an offensive play style. I've seen matches where people just turtle up, play for that in-game, go to those overtime situations, and just like that, our first match of the day queuing up here. On the pink side, it is going to be Let's Cook. So here we go, taking off for our very first match of FOAMSTARS Glorious Party.
Yeah, and we can see quickly each team just rushing towards mid here. Cover as much place as you can with the foam. And that is going to be Ravebreaker with the hose. And they're going to have such a long hose that they can try and just get foam everywhere, possibly supporting all of their teammates. You know, definitely more of a support type of play. And just all of the foam all scattered all around the map. Your positioning is very important. And that's why we see a lot of players from Let's Cook just kind of bunched up here. You know, we want to step back. We want to, you know, get a little bit of control into mid because we know we have some range, but we want to make sure that we are protecting ourselves as well.
And on the other end with Komodo, we're going to see Endo running the Barissador. The Barissador was a brawler character that I've seen that definitely is a more skill cap type of character. It's not the easiest in the world. He's going to rely on that long range, and height is something I found very important with him as well. He's a character that's going to need that to rain it down, more of that support style as well, but not afraid to get his hands dirty from time to time.
Well, and right now, Komodo is really dominating the competition. They still have all of their stocks left, and Let's Cook down to their 3. And remember, when that gets down to the 1 mark, the star player is going to come out from Let's Cook, and it will be the player who has, you know, been performing the best throughout various metrics that are inside of the game. It's not necessarily just about how many chills you get, which is when you foam them like this. You can see Komodo going in for that nice strike, and there you go. They got 2 chills. That's going to be Reborn getting those 2, and they just have 1 stock. Let's Cook has 1 stock left until the star player is going to be coming out.
This is simply domination so far. They're almost out of lives here. They're looking for that final foams up and a little kickboard flip, and it's going to bring them down to their star player. So based on those metrics, looks like the Agito for the other team is the best player, and he's actually been left in an isolated situation as well. They've identified this immediately, and the timing perfect here. Now they're popping an ult as well. The King Penguin raining down on the map. Bubbles from the sky, low HP for Equitize, and he's trying to stay up, desperate, but constantly taking damage here. If this star player goes down, it could all be over for game 1 in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, we'll see if they can hang on. Not much health is left, and it looks like they are about to be chilled. And no, they were saved by their teammates. So when you're saved, you get 25% of your health back. But remember, you gotta be in an area where you can quickly get away from the enemy foam. So that is going to be really nice for Let's Cook to just stay alive for, you know, hopefully for them for the rest of the game. But Komodo's really going to be on top of trying to get the star player, and the longer you're in your foam, the more your health is going to regenerate too. So it's all about getting away, but it looks like their health might be up, and that's going to be the party that's over. And Komodo is going to walk away here with game 1, not losing any of their stocks, Kenny.
That was incredible. I mean, a first game performance and really setting a tone here for our tournament. Komodo looking fierce. I think the fact that they were able to save the star player for their side several times for Let's Cook, and they still did not drop a single life on the other end, is really impressive. Not a single chill on their side. They stayed strong. They clearly had a strategy, and I love the timing that they had in that. They were able to isolate that star player, immediately identify, hey, we've taken out his teammates. We can go push this, and we're able to bring him down so low, push them back in the enemy spawn, and really make magic happen.
Yeah, and just how quickly the stocks were lost for Let's Cook. You know, it's really unfortunate, but to your point, once the star player was alive, they were able to be revived quite a few times. Here we can see on the replay, this is going to be from Icy's point of view. 1 stock left. Now we're on Reborn's point of view when the star player comes out, and you can see the star player here, they're trying everything they can just to avoid members from Komodo, because you got to get in your own ink. You got to run away. You got to make sure that your teammates are supporting you too. And, you know, like we said, there were a few times that they were able to be revived here, and, you know, that was probably the longest that they have gone without losing a stock, was when they had their star player. And, you know, your abilities are buffed when you are the star player. You have a little more HP, your attack power is a little higher as well, but knowing that all of the enemy characters are going to be just trying to foam you makes it so much harder to try and escape.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not much to take away there in terms of what to do better from the side of Komodo. That was quite literally perfection. I'm really impressed with what we saw from them early on. In terms of character selection, I really like the choice of Penny Gwen in general. I felt like their side had a very diverse composition, which I think is something we're going to find a lot of the times here. I don't think we're going to be seeing all offense, all support, kind of a mix of everything with these teams as well. The Barissador, somebody like I mentioned, that's a very high skill cap character. Not the easiest to master, but once you get him down, you can be an absolute threat. Really really shape the map the way you want it to. And of course, Penguin with the medium distance there can pair really well with these up close characters. So I think they just had a little bit of everything going for them, but it looks like they went into that game with the game plan. On the other end, you know, just got to make adjustments and move on. It's only a best of 3, so they've got to run it perfectly for the rest of this. 2 straight games, it's what it's going to take to keep it up in the upper bracket.
Yeah, remember, we do have a lower bracket that will be happening as well. So, of course, with the first round being a best of 3 and the first round of the losers bracket being a best of 3 too, you don't have a whole lot of chances to make some changes here. But you know, and it's really hard to take away from a game when a game is pretty short, just like that one. We saw how dominant Komodo was. Reborn using Penguin, again, a character that is so fun to use. It is a patient character that allows you to just like kind of stay back. I can foam up a little bit. I can send my marching penguins forward to try and foam and get some paths. And I think overall, Komodo just did such a great job on pincering Let's Cook into just one little area, and they were able to get those kills one by one.
I'm really impressed with just the strategy that they've come up with so early on. You know, like we mentioned, this game is very new. A lot of us are getting our hands on this game for the first time, including these players right here, but they're showcasing why they are above and beyond the rest of us here. Strategies like that are going to go a long way, and I think timing is something we're going to have to keep our eye on through the rest of the night as well. When they pick up those tags, when they get those chills, and the more chills they can get with a perfectly timed one, they could isolate a star player like we just saw there. So I wonder if these players are kind of keeping up in their own heads. Hey, who's been able to get that damage? Who's been able to get chills for the other team? Let's keep that in mind, and when we get those chills and hit them with our surfboard, we're going to be able to know who to target in just a short moment.
Exactly. And remember, instead of chilling, you can also save your teammates. It's basically the same thing as chilling, but you know, on your same team. So if you see somebody who is who needs to be saved, you can surf into them to save them. You're not going to give them the full HT, but you are going to be avoiding losing a stock. But let's hop into here for game 2. Let's see if Komodo will get the 2-0, or if Let's Cook has something up their sleeve to take this to a decisive game 3.
Gonna have to see a big turnaround here. Looks like a Soa, Agito, Rave Breaker, and Penguin on the right-hand end. Not a lot of change-ups here. Like we mentioned, kind of expecting these players to have 1 to 2 characters that they've mastered and just roll with it. Komodo up 1-0 in this series, now on match point, and immediately rushing to this fountain here in the mid, looking like a left-hand angle. Other team moving right, and immediately a Penguin sliding through the map, just trying to get as much coverage as possible. The more foam they have down, the easier it is to maneuver around this map.
Yeah, Komodo did a very good job with that, positioning 2 players on the left side, 2 players on the right side, and ultimately got to mid before Let's Cook were able to get there. And Let's Cook, they are down a stock right now. There is a chance for Komodo to take them down to another stock. Let's see if they do it. It looks like they do. They do to get that chill, and they get another chill. So once again, Komodo has yet to lose a stock. 4 stocks remaining for Let's Cook before the star player is going to be coming out. And there's another opportunity for a chance. And it looks like they did revive the player on the side of Let's Cook, but Komodo doing exactly what they did during the first game, Kenny.
Once again, the strategy working to perfection here. Only 3 stock left for Let's Cook here. Brisador doing a great job of knowing his place, going for the follow-up as well here. The long-distance spray, getting coverage for the teammates who are much better and more equipped to fight up close, just trying to keep his distance, stay healthy, and not get isolated. Pixelated Cody getting in the mix as well, and now they're only down to 1 stock left. This could be a repeat of game number 1.
Yeah, the star player is now out for Let's Cook. Like you said, no stocks lost on the side of Komodo, but look how much HP has gone down from the star player of Let's Cook. They're once again just trying to run away, find a way that there is an opportunity to get away from any of the blue ink, and we can see their health slowly recharging. Remember, you recharge your health very slowly when you're the star player, especially when you are in your own ink, and we do see some of those ults being used. This is the Brisador's ult that is now, or their superstar skill that is going to be used, which is just going to set up a giant foam wall to try and foam the opponents. And I think too, you know, Let's Cook, they're doing a good job hanging in. They are able to get some stocks off Kenny. They are able to get some stocks off of Komodo, and they have 5 remaining.
Got a good momentum swing here. A little health regeneration as well for Ekatized. They're going to need all the help they can get. The fact that they survived 2 superstar skills in that moment and were able to take away 2 stock from Komodo is really impressive for them. This is going to be a slow fight. They need to regroup here, and they're already charging up those health points once again, which is a huge deal. You see some superstar skills from the other end as well as we go over to another character here, hanging back, regrouping, sees the low HP, foams up the enemy side, and could be looking for a chance here, trying trying to get this kick off, and they do manage to get an elimination down to 4 stock, though. This is getting closer and closer. Komodo aren't careful. They could get a tie ball game here with their own star player.
I know, Komodo's been dropping the stocks ever since the star player from Let's Cook came out. And I mean, Let's Cook, the star player is losing a little bit more health as time and time goes by. Oh, there's going to be the spiky from Soa that's going to be coming out on the side of Let's Cook to help them get away. But just 2 more stocks until Komodo's star player is going to be coming out. And Let's Cook, they are just hanging on by a thread. There is a chance time for Komodo to knock them out, and it looks like they do. So Komodo going to be winning game 2, but Kenny, this one, Let's Cook put up way more of a fight than they did in game 1.
For sure. I mean, towards the end there, it looked like we might get a little bit of a reversal. That was some pretty crazy stuff to survive all those superstar skills that they did, regenerate the health points, and manage to take off 5 stock from a team that came out swinging in game number 1. Gonna have to keep our eye on Let's Cook, and if you're a fan of any of these guys at home, Let's Cook are not out of it yet. Double elimination bracket, but for now, Komodo coming out with a nice performance here in our very opening round of the night.
Yeah, and ICL is getting a lot of those MVP awards there at the end of the game. You know, I think what's very difficult is when you have your star player alive and you're attacking. If you're attacking the star player on the enemy team, you know the enemy team knows where you're coming from. They know who the target is. They know it's going to be on the star player. So there's really no way that you can kind of hide or flank or, you know, figure out who's going to get attacked. It's all the focus is going to be on the star player. So that helps you as the defending team, as the team with the star player, to just kind of, you know, gravitate towards the player that's the star player and try and get some chills. And I think that's how ultimately they did such a good job in getting some stocks off of Komodo.
I agree. I think Komodo with a really impressive strategy. Their composition worked out really well too. Kind of getting a taste of some of the first competitive here. You know, you see the Penguin in this replay, that medium to longer range distance. You have Baristador, who is playing his foam from a distance, placing shots to try and help his teammates Soa and Agito, who are more up close, a little speedier, a little more assassin-like. You see the superstar skills being popped at pivotal times. A nice connection there. Obviously in the Sea Urchin, you're going to be a little more indestructible. You can get very hyper offensive and go for enemies, or you can just be a kind of a meat shield for your teammates, lead the charge. So I think overall showing great game awareness and excellent stuff in game number 2 for Komodo. A well-deserved victory there.
Yeah, it certainly was. And yeah, Let's Cook, again, they put up more of a fight here for game 2, but I think the patience, too, on the side of Komodo, you know, they started off strong. They definitely were the ones who went in with the game plan that seemed pretty dominant towards the beginning of setting 2 players here, 2 players here. Let's just funnel them in once again like they did for game 1. So that was a very good strategy, but, you know, Let's Cook, they obviously learned from the mistakes and were able to get some of those chills from opposed to the first game, you know, but going down 1 by 1, that kind of affects you if you're Komodo a little bit. You're like, wait a minute, we're dropping our stocks. We gotta dial in here. We gotta make sure that we are taking care of the star player and chilling them and whatnot. But ultimately, it's gonna be Komodo who's gonna be the one moving up into the semifinals of the upper bracket.
I think timing's going to be everything here. You know, we saw them put their foot to the gas pedal, really get aggressive, try and finish off the star player. Somehow, some way, Let's Cook managed to take 5 stocks before they were able to do so. This is going to be a huge game of momentum swings back and forth. You're going to have to pace yourself. You're going to have to know when to hit the W key and go forward and get after these guys. It's something that I'm sure all of these teams are going to learn from here tonight, and us at home are going to be way more informed of how to properly play from these guys as well. For now, though, it is going to be Komodo with an excellent start to the day. I think just based off that performance, they've got to be front runners here to try and make the finals. That was about as good as you can get. I know a little shakier in game number 2, but all things considered, in 2 games, they only dropped 5 stocks.
Yeah, you know, 0 stocks in the first game, 5 in the second, which is a little more dicey, but ultimately they had a very impressive run. And, you know, I really like Reborn on the Penguin character just because it allows you to be a little bit patient, has that medium range. You know, it's not always going to be like an in-your-face, high-power player. It's more of a support, but also it can be pretty lethal, too. And I know they're probably going to be running with that pretty much the whole time. And like you said, you find a character, you find 1, maybe 2 characters that you like, and you just run with it. You stick with it, and I think a lot of these players are going to be doing that this entire time.
Penguin's impressed me most with the single shot capability, just the sheer amount of damage that Penguin can put out, whether it's through her assault rifle, whether that's through her skill, that's basically a barrage of bubbles that can hit an enemy. If you connect those really well from that mid-range distance, it's going to be an awesome way to deal with enemies. I also love that we saw the Emperor March, that superstar skill, the King Penguin, if you will, able to bounce off walls, make some nice connections. We saw that in both of those games be a big factor. In the skill 1, the Penguin squad there, it's basically a miniature version of that superstar skill, so you can use it as a get in to get aggressive method or a get out of jail free card. You can kind of slide away, pave the way for you to get out of it, and make sure that you're putting yourself in great position.
Yeah, and then you have the Toboggan Bomb, which sends Slider off ahead, sliding over the ground and creating a path of foam. Again, just such a great support method. You know, it's not going to be very lethal with the foam, but it allows you, if you need to go up very fast, if you need to shark up forward, it allows you to do that. And of course, we don't want to forget the Emperor March, which is the superstar skill that's going to send the Emperor forging ahead, blasting away foam and rivals along the way, blowing up a massive explosion in the end. So that is going to be the most lethal part of Penguin, other than the main weapon that they have, which again is the accurate rifle and high power skills that creates foam paths. But it is a fun character to play as.
I agree. I think it's a very intuitive one. It's very offensive, single target. You kind of know what your objective is. Unlike a character like we saw, somebody like the Barissador, who's a little more complex in the sense that it's a support character. It's not just attack, attack, attack. We saw that long-range hose really come into support. The cat that he drops that launches and flattens foam. You saw the superstar skill flatten out the map as well. You have to be really careful when you pop that too. If you're right in the enemy's faces, that's an easy chill for them. There's a lot that goes on, a lot more complex details that people can miss if they're just starting out in the game. But once we see all of this get put together, we get to watch it from multiple points of views of these players. It's really awesome to kind of see how in such a short time they've really learned to get very good and at the top of the game.
Oh, certainly. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see every single character. I mean, again, there's 8, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see all 8 being used in a very well fashion too. Like you mentioned, the Barissador. That's one of the characters that you unlock a little bit later on in the game when you're around a level 3 or so. So it's not a character that you can get right at launch, but a little bit later. But the support from the Barissador is a lot of fun to play. If you typically play support style play, that is going to be the one for you. It has a very long range, like you mentioned, with that note, with the nozzle that can just shoot foam everywhere. And I think it's a very nice friendly weapon, but like you said, a very high skill floor too, that you really need to practice as well if you want to be at the top of the game.
Agreed. I mean, it's kind of one of the unique features that we have. We have some that are supportive. We have some that are more assassin. Agito, somebody we saw there too. You know, it can get really aggressive if you want to with him. He's not really somebody that you're going to have on the back lines. It's somebody you're going to want up in the faces of other people. It's one of the ones that we highlighted as well. I kind of expect to see a lot of So and Agito just to have that aggressive factor on a team. And then there might be a little more flexibility in what we see in that support style or more of that mid-range. I think Penguin's somebody that we're going to see a lot just because I think it fits that role of a good hybrid of medium-ranged and offensive capabilities as well. And then kind of a support as well throughout the qualifiers. I saw some Rave Breaker as well, who's more of a trickster, a very unique one in that sense, also has a hose. So I think it's going to be a build for each team. I don't think you're going to see anybody commit to all of one type of character. I think it's going to be a huge difference in terms of what each role is going to be.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Rave Breaker, very similar to Barissador with having the hose, but it's a much shorter range, but does a lot more damage output and can cover more foam on the field too. So it really just depends on what your play style is. You know, I would be surprised if we saw both players on the same team just because, you know, they play very similarly, but I always love to be surprised, and especially during the first few weeks of the game, we never know what to expect because, again, this is new for us, this is new for a lot of the players too. And it's always so much fun to see what they're going to bring to the table. And I believe we're waiting on a few more matches of our first round to finish up before we move on to a few more matches in the bracket. But we are going to be looking for another game right now, and let's take a look here and see where we can hop in. This is going to be Celicious here, hopping into their game. They have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, and we can see that Celicious, they have all 7 of their stocks remaining, where their opponents, the Goon Stars, they are down to their star player, and it looks like their star player's in pretty good hands right now, Kenny, but we'll see what happens in these next few seconds.
They've got a couple minutes on the clock here as well. as we enter this matchup here too. 0-0 score line, and now Ravebreaker going to be taking some damage here as well. Going to have an opportunity to see Soa with those dual-wield pistols kind of get a flank here as well. The comms very present with this team, which is something we love to see. Communication essential in any kind of sport and esport. A nice foam up and some shots as well. A little bubble step in there. Rapid fire going down and stamping that surfboard right on the enemy team. Great stuff here. It doesn't contribute to the stocks, but the more players you can knock out, the easier it is to get to that star player on the other end.
Yeah, and I love watching Soa players because they are all over the map. And of course, now we're going to move on to Baristador. This is going to be Hoosier from Celicious. And again, this is just game one that we are watching here for the first round of these two teams. And no stocks are down on the side of Celicious. They are still rocking and rolling, but they're having a hard time finding the star player from GoonStars and trying to get them, trying to foam them and chill them. But a lot of good special usage from both of these teams, a lot of superstar skills that are being used and the skills in general. We can see the spiky come out from Soa. Again, like you said, this is going to be just kind of a weapon that you can just really rush towards an opponent and it lasts very long in the spiky ball before you launch off. And we can also see the penguin that is going to be used right as Soa ends. I love the coordinated superstar skills that they're doing right now.
Yeah, perfect flank there as well. They're going to manage to get a chill there. Now they're getting really deep into this enemy territory. Raidbreaker going to have to be very careful about this. These mounds of foam piling up. The more purple we see, the better it is going to be alongside those 7 stocks, really working themselves into a hole here with 30 seconds on the other end and the first signs of damage going down on that star player.
Yeah, and right now Celicious, I don't think they're just kind of running away a little bit, because I believe if they last these 20 seconds, if they don't have any stocks and there's a star player on the other team, then they might be victorious. They might not even have to go into any sort of overtime or anything, and that's why they're just kind of running away right now, not even really paying much attention to the star player. Now, of course, they have to play a little bit more aggressively because GoonStars is being a little bit more aggressive as well, but Celicious here just, running away for a little bit, and that's going to be the time. And of course, you don't have to go into overtime. You don't have to have both star players. As long as one of the team doesn't have any of their star players, the game is going to be ending at the end of the 7-minute mark.
That's right. So essentially they had a lead going into that. They didn't lose a single stock. So also very impressive from that side as well. A 7-0 victory. I'm sure we'll see a handful of those. Again, everybody very new to this game. So there's going to be some games where it works out. There's going to be some where it's going to be a slugfest. And there's others where they're going to have figured it all out. Ravebreaker, though, clearly an MVP for this side as well. What an impressive stat line going into that game. A very well-deserved one at that. And just from the small glimpse that we got there, it was just domination from one end.
It certainly was. We tuned in there right as one of the star players was live on the other team, and 7 remaining. So we really didn't see many chills that were going on during the game. But again, both of these teams just kind of knew what was at stake in that game too, where if you're in a position where the time is ticking down, you can play a little bit more conservatively. It's to your advantage to just kind of back away. We're not going to put ourselves in danger. We're going to kind of spread out. We just want to make sure we're nice and hidden. And you can see that there are platforms that a lot of these players are jumping on, and it takes quite some time to get there too. So they're all just kind of fanning out a little bit, like, hey, if we all kind of fan out a little bit, we'll have to be aware in the last minute when they come charging towards us, but for now we can just kind of relax a little bit, and then when we need to be aggressive, we will.
Yeah, you make an excellent point, right? Be aggressive when you need to be, but if you're up 7-0 with a minute on the clock, no need to get overly done there. You can just sit back, relax, take those targeted fights and engagements, and rather than just trying to go for the win, you can just hang back and let the clock run out. 7 stock in a minute is a pretty tough feat to do, so I think they knew they had it in that spot. Height's something that's very important in this too. When you pile up your own team's foam, if you do it in the same spot repeatedly, it's going to pile up taller and taller and taller, so there's going to be some characters like Soa who can go more aerial naturally with things like the bubble step. There's things like the shuriken from Agito where he can bounce off of and go in the air, but other than that, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of using those support characters to kind of build up those foam stockpiles for yourself. So I think that's going to be something we'll see throughout the day as well, and something that I think these really good teams are going to utilize to their advantage.
Right, and it's also used as a defensive mechanism too, where if you have a lot of the foam that's piled up on your side and you're just kind of hidden a little bit, it's going to take a lot of work for the enemy team to foam that down. You know, the enemy foam is going to counteract the foam that you currently have, and so that's going to go down while yours is going to go up. So again, having the multi-level terrain of this game is a very unique and exciting dynamic that we have here in FOAMSTARS.
Well, we've had an awesome start with a couple matches here on screen. We'll be getting into more matches very shortly. Don't go anywhere. We're going to head to a quick break.
PlayStation.
Gaming is defined by moments.
It is intense!
The joy of victory and the thrill of overcoming challenges. Welcome to our home of competitive gaming, where we can all experience exciting esports moments.
The final 1v1 of the game here.
And celebrate the pros and the rising stars.
I do want to see a female in the NCS.
Bringing you guides and deep dives.
Horizon can go up, but she can't go up fast.
And tournaments where the community competes.
Wait! Did he
No way!
Whether you're in a heated match,
Back, let's go!
or watching along at the edge of your seat.
A duo taking down a trio!
Let's create moments from the games you love.
I'll take it!
Join us and subscribe to our channel to follow everything esports on PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Enlist in the galaxy's elite fighting force. Work together to protect your future. Join the Helldivers, the galaxy's last line of offense.
PlayStation.
I've been waiting all weekend to put my makeup on. High heels and my favorite song playing on and on. Yeah. So good, these feelings, they just can't be wrong. I'm healing underneath all the lights. Hey, one foot in the door and I'm already lost in paradise. In paradise. Just one drop tonight got me feeling alive. And all this gold to kill my vibe. I got that midnight. Yeah, I got that midnight champagne feeling. And I'm gonna celebrate my life. 'Cause I got that midnight champagne feeling. There ain't no sadness welcome in this place. Just out here giving thanks for another day. Before you step and throw your cares away. 'Cause there ain't no room for anything that isn't joy tonight. One foot in the door and I'm already lost in paradise. In paradise. Just one drop tonight got me feeling alive. And all this gold to kill my vibe. I got that midnight. Yeah, I got that midnight champagne feeling.
Maybe I'm dreaming. You caught my eyes there in the street, that the whole world held their breath for a minute. Should I be grateful, or the taste be bittersweet? For the moment of perfection, it slipped away. Away, 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 away. You were there for a moment, it slipped away. Away, 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 away. You were there for a moment, that slipped away. We could be dreaming. It's alright, let the moment pass us by, like a fraction of perfection that never ends. Blossom in springtime, it is hard to say goodbye. You were there for a moment, it slipped away. Away, 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 away. You were there for a moment, it slipped away. Away, 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 away. You were there for a moment, that slipped away. We could be dreaming. We could be dreaming. Maybe we're dreaming. We could be dreaming. We were there for a moment. There for a moment. There for a moment. Slipped away. We were there for a moment. There for a moment. There for a moment. Slipped away. Away, 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 away. You were there for a moment. Slipped away. Away, 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 away. You were there for a moment. That slipped away. We could be dreaming. We could be dreaming. Maybe we're dreaming. We could be 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 dreaming.
I'm ready to be myself. I've tried being like someone else, yeah. That just ain't my style. I've known it for a while. I look so good, and I don't need your validation. 'Cause self-love is all I need to rise up and be my queen. Yeah, baby, I'm on fire. I'm unstoppable. I'm wild. I feel so good, and I'll make me my inspiration. I'm gonna blow you all away. 'Cause I look so good when I walk this way. I wanna bring that fire today. I'm gonna strut my stuff and on that runway. Gonna own it, yeah. Get ready, 'cause here I come. Here I come, baby, yeah. Can't help me from being number one. That's just who I am. Never gonna take it back. I know I'm good, and I'll make me my new sensation. 'Cause self-love is all I need to rise up and be my queen. Yeah, baby, I'm on fire. I'm unstoppable. I'm wild. I feel so good, and I'll make me my inspiration. I'm gonna blow you all away. 'Cause I look so good when I walk this way. I wanna bring that fire today. I'm gonna strut my stuff and on that runway. Can't you hear the call? Can't you hear it?
Welcome back to the Glorious Party. We saw some awesome quarterfinals matches go underway, but things only get tougher from here. Down into our upper bracket, we've got 4 teams that remain alive up there, and we're going to be catching in on all of the action for our double elimination bracket. I'm Kenny, joined with me, Falco Flyer once again. We're going to be breaking down some more excellent matches. What impressed you about that first round, Falco?
I mean, it's got to be Komodo, especially with Game 1. You know, if you missed it, they won Game 1 without losing a single stock. You know, Game 2 against their opponents, they did get, it was a little bit more dicey for them. It was a little bit more dicey against Let's Cook, and Let's Cook really seemed to hold strong for quite some time, but it's got to be Komodo during that Game 1 victory that it lasted about 2 minutes or so. So it was very, very impressive. And of course, Komodo awaiting to face the winner of Goon Stars and Celicious that we got to do a little bit of a live look in prior to going to break. So again, they're waiting for the competition. But look at the 2 teams in match 7 up there, Kenny. FOAMSTARS versus I'm Foaming. That is going to be the match that we are going to go to next. FOAMSTARS had a bye in the first round, so they haven't been playing yet today. And I'm Foaming getting that 2-0 victory over South Park Foamers.
I'm Foaming with a convincing opening match to the day, and of course, like you mentioned, FOAMSTARS have just been sitting by the wayside, watching their opponents, analyzing, calculating how they're going to approach this next one. We'll have to see if they can wipe off the rust quick. Good news for them is even if they can't, it's a double elimination format. We're just in the upper bracket right now, so everybody's got 2 chances at glory here. But FOAMSTARS made it this far for a reason, going through that first qualifier in very impressive fashion. So we'll see how they do here today. It's going to be Aaron, Dizzy, Snail, and Risu going at it here for the FOAMSTARS, the team, not the game. But it would be fitting if they did end up winning, as their name is directly what the game is.
You know, I'm always impressed with how many times we see teams that have the name Foam or Stars in it. And of course, you know, why don't just make your team name based off of the game name too? So that's always fun and exciting. I think it just shows their confidence that they have today that they're going to win the whole tournament.
I like it. Gotta have confidence if you're competing here. And like you mentioned, a lot of teams working foam into their name, their opponents doing the exact same thing. It's going to be I'm Foaming on the other end. I mean, an impressive set of players, a convincing victory in their opening match as well. We'll see if they're equipped to deal with the #1 coming into this tournament, being the FOAMSTARS team. I'm curious to see if we get any change-ups as well. We've seen a few of the characters go out there. Soa, Agito seem pretty consistent. We saw some excellent Penny Gwyn gameplay earlier, the Baristador making an appearance, but we've got 8 characters that are all very unique, so I'm curious to see if I'm Foaming brings some new ones to the table.
Yeah, one of the characters I'm interested in seeing is Jet Justice, which is an all-around player, has a very versatile type of weapon that they can use, short range, long range, depending on how you charge it. So you're really, really flexible with your play style, and I think that's something I'm looking forward to the next game if they can bring it out.
I would love to see that too. I think there's a ton of depth into somebody like Jet Justice. Jack of all trades comes to mind for sure. It's somebody that I didn't feel like was the best in any particular category, but was very equipped to deal with just about every situation, whether that be the supportive features with the super skill being a shield. Has some offensive capabilities, of course, with the shotgun feature from the regular shot. The cosmic dive, I think, is one of the coolest skills in the game as well. So there's a lot that Jet Justice can do. Even with that regular shot, if you hold it a little longer, rather than be those shotgun pellets, it's going to be more of a ball of foam rolling down the map. So much can be brought to the table just from one character. That's only one of the 8. We've got a ton of other ones as well that have been showcasing themselves here tonight, and I'm sure a lot of the people at home are going to be eager to try on their own.
Right, exactly. And I think one of my favorite things about Jet Justice there is the Galactic Bubble Shield. But hey, I'll talk about that later. We are queuing up into our next game here. Again, this is game 1 of the semifinals bracket between FOAMSTARS and I'm Foaming. And we can see some of the characters that we have seen before, some of the newer characters as well. We have both teams having a Soa, both teams also having a Gito as well. So, you know, once these players find characters that they're comfortable with, they're going to be sticking with it. And let's hop into here for game 1.
I believe our first Melty that we've been able to see on screen as well. That one is a rocket launcher and a ton of fun to work with here. That's going to be the one on our current stream as well.
Yep. I'm here.
The long-range shots, and the comms already coming out from I'm Foaming. Again, we love to see it a lot.
I had to get a save. I had to get a save. I had to get a save.
Follow-up shots here. Keep in mind, when you get a chill onto an enemy player, you have to make a direct connection with your surfboard onto them. They're going to be looking for those on each side, but no stocks being taken quite yet.
Yeah, you know, definitely kind of feeling out your opponents. Nobody's really rushing forward quite yet. They're taking advantage of all the foam that both teams have on the map. And we can see here, it's always smart to wisely back up when you feel that you're in danger. And, you know, with the surfboard, you surf faster on your foam, and you can still surf outside of your ink, but you're just a little bit slower. We can see one of the players already in danger, but they did get saved from the side of I'm Foaming. So just like foaming a player and slamming your surfboard into them, you can do that for your teammate to help revive them. They're going to have a little bit of health once you do revive them, but it is absolutely crucial because when you go down in stock, you not only lose a member temporarily, but you lose one of your stocks. And we can see here I'm Foaming in a little bit more danger, but they've been doing such a good job staying alive.
It's a back and forth for sure, each end, and a lot of helps flashing on the screen, but that's going to be 3 stocks taken away for I'm Foaming, and now trying to get desperate, looking for a tag. They're not going to be able to quite go for the follow through, knows they're alone and need to get out. A little bubble step out of desperation, looking for that pink foam, but the follow-up coming in from FOAMSTARS. They're piling up bodies right now. That's a lot of chill time for I'm Foaming.
Yeah, and that was so close to having that character build up their super skill and getting the little spiky ball. And again, that just allows you to be alive a little bit more longer if you're in danger. So that was an unfortunate opportunity for I'm Foaming. They were not able to survive that, but FOAMSTARS really turning up the heat now with about 5 minutes remaining, having a 4 stock advantage and a lot of foam here on the map throughout the entire stage here. They are doing a fantastic job getting some of these chance players here, and we can see that I'm Foaming still keeping some of them alive, but look at that, 4 chills from Aaron here. 4 chills, and now the star player is going to be coming out from I'm Foaming. So once again, the star player is the player that needs to be taken down in order for the other team to win the game. If you have a star player on your team, you need to keep them alive for the rest of the game.
Now coffee going to be raining from the skies as well. It's going to be a close one here as Rave Breaker is the last one remaining. It's the only target that they really need to focus. Some weak allies on the other end as well. A nice little juggle there of a bubble step to get out of the way. Now being knocked back as well. Going aerial, looking for extra tags, and about half HP for the star player on I'm Foaming's end. They finally get a stock though, so maybe a little life here for I'm Foaming.
You know, I found that typically you do get more stocks down when your star player is out, just because there's a lot more pressure for the opposing team to go towards that star player. So it allows you to be a little bit more risky with your play, going for some of the players. And here, a few more opportunities for I'm Foaming to get some chills, and it looks like they do. They get 2 more. Here's a chance for a 3rd. It looks like 2 more are going to go down. So Kenny, this is exactly what happened during the game that we saw prior to this with Komodo, where they just were losing a few of their stocks, but I'm Foaming still holding on and being very impressive in these final moments.
Very impressive. I mean, this is much more manageable. Now, instead of 7 stocks, they only need to look for 2. They need to be careful, though. A lot of health points being deteriorated from Rave Breaker. He's taking some serious heat now, and now going to be foamed up all the way. They're going to have to somehow find a save here. The help going down, and they do manage to keep him up in the meantime. They don't need to get overly aggressive, though. Let's just stay safe. They got 3 minutes to take 2 stocks, so on FOAMSTARS' end, they're still all right, but need to take a breather and make sure they're playing this smartly.
Yeah, and it looks like here's another opportunity for FOAMSTARS. Once again, the star player from I'm Foaming is down to their final moments of health. Can they stay alive? And it looks like they do not. So FOAMSTARS is going to be getting the victory here for game 1 of our semifinal match. But again, at a 2-stock advantage, it didn't look like it was going to be that close earlier on in the game. But again, just like the previous set that we saw on stream, it went that other direction. And, you know, I'm Foaming, they really did a good job turning up the heat, and protecting their star player for that long. And it is so important, Kenny, to be the star player and being aware of your surroundings in those moments. You don't want to go down very quickly, but it's just as important for your teammates to be aware of where you are so they have an opportunity to save you.
That's a couple games now that when we've seen that star player come out, obviously they're going to have a little extra HP. They're harder to take down. They're much more valuable for your team. So that makes sense that we kind of see a few stock finally get taken down. But if you use those stocks and cycle them properly, just like we saw the FOAMSTARS team do, that was really good stuff. They called their shot at the end there. They saw a weak enemy in the star player. They knew they were down in stock, and they made a commitment. I saw that Melty super go out. The superstar skill absolutely blowing up the map. A huge beam of ice cream, and it's the most lethal ice cream I've ever seen. And I think those follow-up shots were just too overwhelming at that point, and I'm Foaming just couldn't make the comeback. We've kind of seen this trend where if you're the first team to get the enemy down to their star player, it puts you at a huge advantage. But not to mention, too, obviously having 7 stocks by the time they got to that star player made the odds way out of I'm Foaming's favor. So maybe next time, if they could just get a couple off the enemy team before that happens, it looks like they had some great momentum going their way.
Yeah, they really did. And I think one of the beneficial things, too, that you need to take into account is if you have a star player, it's still beneficial for you, or if the other team has a star player, it's beneficial for you to take out the opponents who aren't the star player. That's going to be 1 or 2 less players that have an opportunity to revive the star player as well. So it doesn't need to necessarily be an all-hands-on-deck situation. Let's take care of the star player. Maybe you just kind of dwindle one by one. Maybe you try and go for the player who seems a little bit out of range, maybe not as close to the star player, so that way you know you definitely do have a player advantage when you do strike forward to try and take out the star player. But a lot of different opportunities that these teams can have. And let's take a look at one of the characters that we have not mentioned yet. This is going to be Rave Breaker. So this is going to be a close-range trickster style. It's going to have a wide hose that can just shoot foam everywhere. A pretty lethal weapon, but not very much range, Kenny. So, you know, it's definitely got a unique support play style.
For sure. This is a really interesting one for me. I love the word trickster that you use. This is the star player we ended up seeing for I'm Foaming, which is interesting because when you get that star player, once you run out of those 7 stocks, the game makes a choice of who's been performing the best in several metrics and who to award that to. And it seems like Rave Breaker was the one for that last time. Maybe because Rave Breaker was up in the faces of enemies. Maybe it was because there was a lot of foam going down on the map. It's hard to get an exact calculation, but Rave Breaker, obviously an impressive feature for this enemy team. So for I'm Foaming, clearly a character that they've been able to utilize, and I feel like Rave Breaker's specialty is kind of dictating the way the game plays out. You get those landmines with the decontamination there. Home in the foam is awesome, just to dive under, pop out, catch some enemies off guard, and it drops a barrage of foam in front of your face. So it's almost like a defensive mechanism meets offense. It's really cool. I think Rave Breaker's a very unique one. And like you said, it is a hose, but it's not like the long range that we saw earlier from somebody like Barissador as much. It's more wide and up close. So this is definitely one of the coolest characters, I think, in the sense that there's nobody quite like Rave Breaker.
No, there really isn't. I mean, you could say Barissador might be the closest just because they also have a hose and might be a little bit more of a support style, but you're right. A very unique character that I think, again, it requires a lot of patience. You know, you don't want to pick fights that you don't think you can win with Rave Breaker. You're going to want to be the person who's kind of running around the map, you know, just painting foam everywhere so that your teammates have places that they can surf, so that you can know that they can get away easily, especially if they get foamed. So I think that's something that they need to be aware of. But let's talk about the superstar skill from it. The party's over. It is a giant it's like a roly-moly, that's what it's called, where it just unleashes and it sucks up surrounding rivals and foam too. It is really such a fun superstar skill to watch.
It's the ultimate reset button, just vacuuming up all the players on the enemy side, all the foam on the ground, and it's just an instant reset on the map. If a team has a ton of foam built up, and immediately you can take that out with 1-star skill. Hopping into game 2 now, I'm Foaming need to bounce back here. Looking like it's going to be a very similar composition. I see a Tonix hitting the ground as well. On the other end, a Rave Breaker, a Geet. We see Melty and Soa once again coming out. Everybody getting queued up for a game 2 here. Don't think you need to change too much if you're on the FOAMSTARS side. They had a huge lead early on. Sure, they lost a few stock along the way, but I think they were in complete control for the most part. As we head into Aqua Blast Adventure, though, we'll have to see if they can keep it up.
Yeah, that's right. And right now we're going to be looking at the side of FOAMSTARS as they're going to be rushing into mid, and we'll see how far they can go before being seen. And it looks like one of the players is already going to be seen here. This is going to be Hercules, who is trying to stay alive, and it looks like they're doing actually a really good job. And remember, you need to fill up your own liquid, and sometimes it does take some time. So you don't get your liquid any other way except for refilling it, and sometimes you can't really shoot your foam when you do that. So you always have to make sure that you're in a safe spot when you are refilling your foam.
That's a great point. I love the height advantage that they try and take there. A little surfboard kick up as now a stock gets taken off. I'm foaming, doing great work right now. Hercules trying to maintain himself here. Now Melty coming out for the FOAMSTARS here. It's going to be Dizzy. Now backing up, and this is one of those unique characters as well, the only one with a rocket launcher. It's going to be aiming from a distance. It'll almost lock on a little bit. You'll see a little glint of yellow on the aim down sight when you do that. Here's one of the unique features as well, trying to get height on this map. It's a launch pad on this left-hand end, joining the team player. A unique feature about this game too, you can actually see the outline and silhouette of the enemy side, so you're never going to be caught off guard if they're in front of your face. I think being able to identify this early is a big thing. Keeping up with all those enemy sides though is still a lot to handle.
I'm up there.
It really is, and I think another thing that's important too is you can see how much health is remaining from the players who are alive. So you know to target somebody who's weak, that you have an opportunity to foam. And here we do see a chance time that's going to be happening, and it looks like they are still trying to make it happen. As we have one stock down on the side of FOAMSTARS, 3 stocks down on the side of I'm Foaming. That is going to be 2 chills for Bino here, who's going to be getting a nice chill. And I think FOAMSTARS, they're doing exactly what they did during the first game, which is being a little bit more patient and knowing when to strike forward. And it's making I'm Foaming struggling just a little bit here, as FOAMSTARS is starting to pincer in on I'm Foaming and making sure that they can't have anywhere to move.
Yeah, and a little bit of a color swap here as well, so keep that in mind for the audience at home here. We're going to be seeing some movement as well. 5-4, a much closer game than we had the first go-around. Our POV on Hercules right now of I'm Foaming. Shotgun blast going down from a distance here, letting it rain and just covering the map with it a little bit. I love the advantage of height that these guys are taking it. It's clearly been a focus for this character. Now they're moving along, looking to get an aggressive stance. They see a player off guard all by himself. Take a couple swings at him, but nothing too crazy. But here comes the Shark. They're dropping the superstar skill that's going to home in on the other side. Need to be careful. Little lower HP on his end, because right now it is 5-4. You have to take advantage, and you cannot afford to get yourself in a spot where you are dropping stocks.
No, and especially if you're playing a person like Agito, who again has such very strong close-up power foam, where, if you don't have all of your foam charged, if you're not in an area that has a lot of foam, it's going to be really hard to get out of those positions. So you need to make sure that you are well protected when you are striking forward. And this is a better game for I'm Foaming here in game 2. At this point in the previous game, they were down to their star player, but they are holding on a little bit longer than they did during the first time. And we have about 3.5 minutes left here of regulation before we start overtime. So again, a little bit of a slower pace, but look at that. We now have the first lead for the side of I'm Foaming with a 1 stock advantage.
Hercules coming out now for this blue side. It's going to be intense. I love the way that he is using that skill to take height. He's diving down underneath, using that L1 button to dive beneath and pop up with a little extra height on it. It's a tough one right now. 3-4. This is by far the closest game that we've had. No star player revealed yet either, and there's still 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, there are still 3 minutes to go, and of course this is anybody's game at this time. And I think too, the foam distribution is a little bit more even. I would say still maybe favoring on the side of FOAMSTARS, but remember, the height of the foam is very important. It can be a little bit deceiving sometimes. If you're looking at a top-down view, you wouldn't be able to tell, but this foam, it does stack up higher, so it takes a little bit more time to get rid of the foam of the enemy team. And I think both of these teams now realize, okay, this is a closer fight. We don't want to do anything that's too aggressive. We don't want to put ourselves in a position that we don't think we can get out of, and that's why, we don't see as much aggression here. But we are going to see Melty. Melty is going to have a lot of range shooting out that ice cream. They're going to be one of the players who's not really going to be in the mix, but more helping support a lot of their players. And we see there, once they get strike, they're going to be running away. We see Spiky coming out from the side of Soa, and that's going to be another chill from them too. So Kenny, this looks like a better opportunity for I'm Foaming.
Aaron with a pop-off play here for the side of FOAMSTARS, going to be exploding here as well, going to the air. 3 enemies on the other end, and now he is in danger of the enemy approaching him. Going to be in that help time. This is going to be very important, as now it's 2-2. That's going to be a tie ball game here as we flip over to Hercules of I'm Foaming. Oh, they've taken another stock as well. That's 4 kills for Risu. Major opportunity now, as they're just going to keep the distance. They don't want to go too crazy here, but they will enjoy a small lead for now of 2-1 on the I'm Foaming star. Again, keep in mind those colors are going to be flopped.
Yeah, this is a very, very crucial time for both of these teams here. I'm Foaming is just really trying to stay alive in this position, and of course having that player, that stock disadvantage is not really going to be helping you at this moment, because we saw the strategy that was going into this from some of the other games where you just run away. If you have the advantage, if you have the stock advantage when time runs out, you just need to make sure that you don't have any players go down, and you are going to be fine in that regard.
Going over to Dizzy with less than a minute to go, and it's 1-1 overall. It couldn't be closer here. Whoever gets that first star player revealed could be in a major disadvantage, as both sides possibly going to be playing the clock here. Dizzy backing up with his teammate here. You gave a great shout out earlier with the foam that can pile up. It gives you even more height, and it is tougher to take down for the enemy team. They're just letting it rain right now with ice cream cones, though. I think FOAMSTARS have decided to just keep the distance. They're going to try and shape the map the way they want it to be. And if we do end up getting to that overtime, keep in mind that zone is going to close in rather quickly.
Yeah, it is, and that's one of those things that, you know, we don't have a lot of experience with, because it's kind of a rare situation that you're put in. So it's going to be really fun to see. But these last 10 seconds, once again, going to be absolutely crucial for both of these teams. Again, tied 1-1 with our stocks, and I'm Foaming really wants to get this victory to keep this set alive. If FOAMSTARS wins, they will be moving on to the next round. But look at this, overtime is going to be starting. 3 minutes. We can see the red surrounding the entire arena. That means the stage is going to be caving in a little bit here, and so once again we are in a do or die situation for both of these teams.
You saw Aaron click the menu screen several times as well. He's looking for the ults on his side. They're looking to try and acquire as many superstar skills as possible, keeping up with the enemy team, keeping up with their own. They need to know when to use them all. You see a Guido for Hercules of I'm Foaming. He's got his already charged up. Those are going to be so valuable here, as this is going to take perfection. Now looking for a more aggressive stance as well. Here comes the missiles incoming from Tonix as well, charging up those shots and launching those bouncy bubble grenades as well. An incoming projectile as well. 2 minutes to go. Both teams looking for a takedown here. You can see low health on the pink side. They're looking for one piece up, and all being popped as well. Superstar skill going in. They're pinning him with the closed zone. This is getting closer and closer as the foam builds up. A chance going down, a bounce out into the edge of zone. Now going aerial with the bubble step as well. They're piecing him up, kicking him out, and the party is over. Fluidity with some beautiful gameplay there at the end.
Oh, it is so hard at the very end, because you need to make sure the player with the lowest HP is alive, and you are there to protect and defend them if you can. There's just so many things that you need to be aware of, especially in a situation like this. Again, we had no star player. Essentially, in that moment, every player is a star player, Kenny. You don't have just one player. You have 8 star players on the map, so it is so important. But yeah, I'm Foaming walking away with that one, so they're tying our set up 1-1. A very impressive game too. You know, I love to see the Melty play a very patient kind of like long-range player that we were mentioning, but then we have Agito, we have Raybreaker, we have Tonix as well. So that's a fun team. You know, I'm kind of surprised we don't have a Soa. I feel like, or we do have a we do have a Soa there. It was Melty on the other team, but yeah, that was such an impressive game. It really showed the patience from both of the teams.
You bring up a great point there, too. That was a very unique overtime situation where we got down to the final stock of each team. It's 1-1 apiece. So at that point, when we hit that overtime clock and the zone starting to close in on our players, it's not a matter of getting that star player takedown. It's everybody has one life. And a unique thing, too, the star player typically has more health points, so it's a lot longer of a time to get a chill on them. In this case, everybody's just them regular old selves, but it's going to be in that in-game. Impressive stuff, and I I love that somebody like Aaron, even though the round didn't necessarily go their way and they lost that game, he was very aware of each side, knowing which side was going to have their superstar skills, when to use them. Excellent stuff here as well as we get down to those final moments, but this is where all the chaos just starts to ensue. That's what made that game so fun. That's definitely the standout one of the night for me.
Right, that is a game 3 caliber of what we would see, but hey, that was just game 2, and that's what kept I'm Foaming alive. And I think what you said, you have to be aware of everything that's going on. You know, you have to be aware of how much health your teammates have. You have to be aware of how much health the enemy team has, because if one player out of the 8 goes down, that's going to end the game. And I'm just really impressed how long every player stayed alive during that overtime and during the last few moments of the regulation period. So that just goes to show the patience and how aware everybody was of just the situation. Like, all right, we don't want to be too risky, but we need to make sure that we are aggressive when we need to be aggressive.
There's a lot to contemplate there. Do we hit our foot to the gas pedal? Do we get in their faces? Or do we slow down, hold back, and not be the aggressive ones? I mean, a single kill would have done it for either side. Those chills so important. I'm really impressed. So let's keep in mind, too, this game is very new for our players. They're some of the best that have emerged so far for our Glorious Party, but that's a high-pressure situation to deal with for the game being about 3 weeks old. I'm really impressed with what we saw, and this one is definitely going to be a highlight reel kind of game for the night. We're going into a game 3 where it is win or go to the lower bracket, and everybody's going to want to hold on to that extra life here as long as they can.
Yeah, and I think the best part for both of these teams too is they have a lot to take away from this game 2. They played essentially 10 minutes of play, and that was a lot more to digest than what we saw during game 1, where FOAMSTARS, you know, pretty much dominated, especially during regulation. Once again, they had a few of their players go down towards the end, but it seemed like they were on top the entire time. We're here, we saw a lot more back and forth. I think too, what's nice for I'm Foaming is they had moments where they were in the lead, so they were never always playing from a deficit, always playing from behind. They were able to have that moment of saying, okay, we have the lead, we can win this. Now, they did win it. I'm sure it took much longer than they wanted it to, just because of how the game played out and how aware FOAMSTARS and honestly I'm Foaming, like, both of the teams were of the situation. And I think too, that stage in particular, there's a lot of places to hide. You know, that's one of the stages. It's not as flat. There's a lot of elevation changes. If you need to, you can kind of go back away, recharge just a little bit, because remember, you do gain a little bit more health when you are not being attacked, when you are in your own foam. So that allows you to recharge. And like you pointed out earlier, there were no star players that had like an attack bonus and an HP bonus of any sort. Everybody was just kind of on the same level playing field, but you know, I'm Foaming just walked away with that one. I think that would have been a coin flip. It was just so impressive.
Both sides playing about as good as you can. You bring up a great point as well with the elevation. It's something that stood out to me there. We saw moments where Melty would just be standing on mounds of foam and projecting out those ice cream scoops. It's going to be a tough one. That map in particular seemed to cater to more aerial assaults from both ends, but now it is a win or go to the lower bracket moment. Our first game 3 experience of FOAMSTARS. 2 teams that are more than equipped to deal with this as well. It's going to be a huge one here. Doesn't look like any crazy shifts in terms of the compositions that they're going to be running. It's going to be the reliable characters that they've selected. As we kick off here, it is going to be I'm Foaming Hercules jumping into the map on the pink side.
Yeah, and again, like you said, no player swaps. A lot of these players using their skills right away to just help get a little bit more foam coverage. You know, these skills don't take a while. They don't take very long to recharge. So once you have it, you might as well use it. You know, it's just a few seconds until you can get another one again. And, you know, some of them are a little more lethal than others. Some of them are a little more support heavy. We already see one player go down on the side of FOAMSTARS. So there is a 1-player advantage for I'm Foaming, and it looks like nobody appears to really be in danger just yet, and I'm Foaming is a little bit more bunched than we had seen them in the last few games so far. But here's going to be an opportunity and for them to get another chill. Are they going to get it? Yes, I'm Foaming takes down another member of FOAMSTARS, but a member from I'm Foaming is going to go down as well.
Come on.
And a big launch out there too. A skill connecting there, and this is a quick assault from each end. We're already down to 5-4, much more aggressive than what we've seen either side taking chances pieces here. We're going to see some of these more long-range characters stay back, though. We're on Mel T here with Dizzy, who's keeping the distance, getting on top of this bottle that's on the left and right-hand end, and just trying to take advantage of the height. Now popping a skill as well, timing it just right to go down those ice cream cones, connecting with the field now as the team looks to group together here. It's going to be a small lead for the FOAMSTARS with 5.5 to go.
Yeah, 5.5 remaining here, and yeah, I mean this is a much better pace for FOAMSTARS, I think, than the previous game, and they're doing such a good job here. We can see Soa here using the little spiky ball, just trying to rush into some opponents. And remember, it's going to be blasting away, and Soa's going to be jumping up in the air. And what I love seeing a lot of Soa players do is they do combos with their skills, with their superstar skills, to make sure that they maximize all of the foam that is on the arena. 2 stocks now remaining for FOAMSTARS, 3 remaining for I'm Foaming. So I'm Foaming in the lead for the first time in this game, just like they had in game 2 a little bit here. And we can see that's going to be Agito just getting a little bit more foam here. And you can see the giant foam bubbles from Agito that get launched whenever that they are using their gun. And it is really just so dangerous when you get in its path.
Neither team are afraid to just push forward on their PlayStation controllers right now. This is by far the most aggressive I think we've seen either team. A real back and forth as well, as now Bino going to have a small advantage here alongside his team. This is going to be Tonix now recuperating alongside his teammates here. They know they have a small lead. They can play this to their advantage. They have a little bit of a defensive mound built with this foam here too. A little extra height, a little tougher for the enemy team to take down. So they're deliberating on how to approach this next one. There's going to be a skill that goes out as well. This turret going to be aiming at players if they're close enough. If not, they'll just cover the field with a flat little edge of foam. Really good stuff here. And with 4 minutes to go, it seems the pace is slowed down a little bit. Everybody's settling in. They know how high intensity this is, and they're going to go ahead and drop their superstar skill, which is going to have missiles that can connect from anywhere on the map, as long with a Melt T as well. There goes another alternate as well. Fluidity deciding to get in the mix here as well. It seems that everybody is starting to commit, and this fight is really starting to crescendo here. Low HP players across the map now as foam ups go back and forth into the air for Fluidity. A little bubble step as well. Sees the low HP player, but knows he needs to back away or else he's going to get chilled just like that.
Yeah, and we're now tied 2-2 with 3:22 remaining here in this game. You know, I wanted to point out Tonix, who was one of the players, and that was when I'm Foaming had a lot more foam on the map than they do right now. You know, that's going to be kind of a medium range assist style, so they're just going to be kind of in the back, making sure that they're not damaged and they can just get a little bit of chip damage along the way. They were playing that pretty spot on into the game, but now the tables have turned just a little bit as FOAMSTARS is kicking up the heat. Once again, tied in the stocks right now. One of the players on I'm Foaming is going to be in danger, and they're going to go down. Both teams have 1 stock left until their star player comes out, so you don't want to be the one who's going to be going down and getting your team's star player out. You want to make sure that you have the advantage just as we are approaching the 2.5 mark here. And like you said before, these players just checking the stats of the teams, making sure, seeing who has their superstar skills, getting ready, getting closer, and we can see all the bubbles here coming out from Soa. Again, this is one of the alts, or one of the skills that they're going to be using, just getting a wall of foam out. And you know, not much movement here on both of these teams. I think they're getting a little bit more timid like they were in that game 2. You know, this is essentially that same position that we were in before when we did have the 1 stock player as we approached overtime of game 2. So I think since these players know the position they've been in here before, they just want to be very careful.
Well, the pink side not afraid to get too aggressive with this middle position here, and they're going to take advantage. They've had some serious connections. Keep in mind, too, each side tied up here looking for that star player as Soa looks to get more aggressive. There's the connection and the chance that they're looking for, going for the save. It's another one on the ground as well. Both sides taking some serious heat in the moment. Here comes a superstar skill of the Shark, and now star player has been determined for I'm Foaming side. Advantage for the FOAMSTARS here. So star player, they're now on their final life for the pink roster, and it's all tied up here, too. Aaron has been selected. Both Soas going to be the star players here in our Game 3 decider.
Yep, Game 3 decider, 1.5 minutes remaining in regulation. Both Soas are going to be the star player. And, you know, when I was talking to one of the players who's playing in the bracket, they were mentioning, like, it's better to have a more agile player like Soa being the star player. That way you can get out of the mix a little bit and be aware of your surroundings. And I think that's, you know, this is probably the best case scenario for both teams, but at the same time, the worst case scenario, because that same player is the star player on the other team. team as well. So just under a minute here, the star players are doing such a good job just staying alive, but I think because both teams are in the same position, they're just kind of parallel with each other.
It's going to be even for sure. I love how you mentioned being agile. It's definitely a little give and take, right? You don't want to necessarily have a support player be that. There's a give and take of that, of course. You can be really defensive with all those health points that you have, but you can't necessarily defend yourself as easily with aggression. Somebody like Soa is a good blend of everything. It's got great ability to traverse across the map. You can see the bubble step as a way to get out of tricky situations, to get hyper offensive if you need to. I think this is about the dream scenario, like you mentioned, for each end. And with 20 seconds to go, overtime approaching, we will be closing in with a zone with a timer on it. If we get there, it's going to come down to which team can take out the enemy star player first. 8 seconds to go, and it's looking like that zone is going to come in closer and closer. Controlling this map with your foam is now more important than ever.
Yeah, and we can see the red light up around the arena, and it's going to be starting to cave in right now. So this is definitely the do or die situation for both of these teams. And again, you don't want to go down. You don't want to set your team at a disadvantage because, again, you have a less of an opportunity to revive your team. And look at the Soa from I'm Foaming. Look at their positioning just up on the top, staying alive, making sure that nobody can get to them. So that is going to be very tricky. But look at this. They are be able to get some damage down. So that is going to be huge, and they are going to be dropping down, running away now. So I'm Foaming in a little bit more danger than they were before.
Fantastic awareness from Dizzy here, understanding that that Melty superstar skill can go through that champagne bottle if you get it just right. Awesome stuff and great game awareness here as now we go over to Fluidi's point of view. Has to be really careful, bubble stepping and trying to get aerial here, now escaping the enemy end, doing what he can. His teammates looking to defend him here as he's less than a quarter of HP left, 2 minutes on the clock, but more concerning is the star player on the other end pushing forward as well, now down to his last life. They do make the connection here. They need to be careful and get him back up. Ooh, and they get him up just in the nick of time here to keep him up, and he's going to be looking to back off as much as possible.
Right, and they're back to 25% of the health, but look at all the health going down from the star player on FOAMSTARS. So right now, I'm Foaming in the lead just ever so slightly, but look at this. Spiky is out from the star player on the side of FOAMSTARS, so that's going to give them a little bit more of a buffer time to try and stay alive, but they're not going to regain any of their health when they're using their superstar skill. So look how much health is remaining on the side of FOAMSTARS. We can see here that all the players just trying to shoot all of their foam over onto the star player. And this, okay, now we have both players in the mix. One of them can be foamed. They do have a chance, but no, they are revived. They are going to get revived on the side of FOAMSTARS. We have a minute left, and Kenny, like you said, the stage is starting to cave in even more and more. You cannot leave that boundary. These last few moments here are going to be very crucial. Foamed up once again on the side of FOAMSTARS, but they are doing this. They're staying alive, Kenny. I don't know how they're doing this.
Both sides keeping an eye on their star players, and down to the final sliver of HP as well. Fluidi receiving some heavy fire. Aaron receiving some as well. He's foamed up. They have to find this chance. They managed to get him back up in the air. Melty juggling a superstar skill as well. Somehow the star player for Fluidi avoids this. A help time as well. Does have a way to get indestructible if need be, but the party's over. They managed to catch him off guard. Aaron survives, and the FOAMSTARS along with it.
FOAMSTARS winning the semifinals round in a fashionable overtime in Game 3. Wow. You know, I think when all that was going on, when we saw a Soa versus Soa last, as long as I've ever seen anybody last, we could hear the comms get more and more active. We could hear that. You guys could hear that at home too. We could hear that all of the shouting, all of the position, all of the shot calling, where all of the players are. Very, very crucial. And shout outs to both Soa players. Shout out to Aaron, especially for surviving the longest out of anybody here, getting that win. That was so impressive. You know, I love the utilization of Spiky. Just, hey, I'm in a pickle. I'm very stuck. I need to just get out of here. I know that, you know, in 10 seconds when my Spiky's up, I'm going to be in danger again, but these 10 seconds could make it or break it, because you never know how long overtime is going to last.
You saw the superstar skill charged up for the side of I'm Foaming as well. If they just managed to get to the ground, they could have popped that and been indestructible for a short period of time. So close, and it's those tiny moments like that can make a huge difference in a tournament run. Aaron, though, surviving somehow, some way. Credit to both sides as well for their teammates being able to hit those chance times, get those teammates propelled back up in the air, and putting Aaron and Fluidity in offensive positions so they can recover or get right on top of an enemy and take them out. That is as close to down to the wire as you can get, and it's our first ever tournament for FOAMSTARS. I'm really impressed with these guys, the direction that this is going, and I hope we continue to get some awesome matches like that.
Right, we got a grand finals caliber match in our semifinals, you know, and remember, this is a best of 3. The round that they're doing later on will be a best of 5, so a little bit more wiggle room, but of course, I'm foaming not out of it yet. They will be dropping into the lower bracket, so they will have an opportunity to stay alive in the tournament, and of course, get our glorious cash prize that we have. A total of $5,000 is at stake.
Yeah, I mean, there's cash on the line. First ever champion in a Glorious Party victory would be huge. Those skins that you mentioned a little bit earlier, too. A lot of good stuff on the way. Good news is, too, FOAMSTARS were the #1 seed. So the fact that they were challenged, that it was a close match, that it was competitive, this is truly anybody's game. I think that was an awesome showcase of both sides of what they can do, how competitive this can truly be. And I think we're going to get plenty of more matches, especially as we progress through our bracket, that are just like that.
Yeah, certainly. FOAMSTARS, of course, had the bye during round 1, so, you know, I'm sure they were warming up on their own, whether they were queuing up into matches or finding teams that they could scrimmage against, too. Always trying to stay fresh and making sure that the controller's still warm and that you're ready to go. So that was, you know, a very sweaty match for the side of FOAMSTARS, too, to get that win, but of course, it's going to bump them up into the winners' finals.
A pretty rude awakening, to say the least, for a first match of the day, but I'm sure that they feel very good about themselves. A nice little confidence boost that they were able to escape that in the upper bracket. It doesn't cost them one of their tournament lives. They still have both remaining. That's a huge factor, too, in this double elimination setting. Dropping a match puts you on a can't-lose situation. There's a little wiggle room for error in this with the double elimination, but FOAMSTARS have cashed in a second chance here. They have 2 lives now entering this upper bracket final. That's a huge difference maker and puts them at a huge advantage for a tournament run to possibly win it all.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. And of course, you know, the eye is on the prize right now. And I'm sure it was at the beginning, but even more so now. You know, the fact that they are, you know, in a position to at least be guaranteed a 4th place position of winning that $500 is really nice. But you want to go for the grand prize. You want to win it all. So I know they're really going to be looking forward to that. But of course, the competition, they still have a lot of competition to go for. They're going to have a tough opponent, I'm sure, in the winners finals when some of the other matches are finishing up. And we'll get that to you when we can, but we know that, like you said, being in the lower bracket, there's really not a lot of wiggle room that you have. You know, it's, you know, most of them are best of 3. You do have the best of 5 finals, but it's really a go big or go home situation.
Yeah, and a big part of that as well, the victory for the FOAMSTARS roster was going to be Mel T. It's a character that we didn't really get to see much until the FOAMSTARS team decided to use it. A unique one in that Bubble Beastie Candy, the unicorn, an awesome feature of this character. Very bright, but certainly a heavy hitter. Don't underestimate this character. You saw it from the distance. The rocket launcher of Ice Cream can be absolutely lethal. They can keep their distance, hold back, but a huge feature for me, and something we saw several times come in handy, was that superstar skill. The ability to just shoot a beam of ice cream all the way across the map, and you even saw some cleverness with that too. They were able to shoot it through the bottle that was on the map. There are some features of the map that you can get that superstar skill through, but there are others where it couldn't. So the awareness to know exactly where to position yourself, especially this early on in the game, a huge catch from them, and I think a big reason why they were able to win that.
Right, and something to note of, it's that superstar skill, it lasts a pretty long time, so you need to make sure you're hidden when you use it, because you don't want to have an opponent come up and flank you and then potentially foam you, so you have to make sure that you're in a position that you're hidden. Of course, doing it from behind a wall, it's a little bit more secure, and, you know, especially when there's a superstar player who's alive, a lot of the focus isn't going to be on you, it's going to be on the superstar player, but being aware of where the foam can go, which walls it can go through, is going to be very important. You know, Mel T, by nature, is the longest range character in the game, has a very unique lock-on style, and has very fun homing missiles too that, you know, Mel T, Ice Cream, Mel T, Ice Cream. Such a fun and whimsical character that we have in the game, and so much fun to play.
Absolutely, a great time as well. And in that upper bracket final, FOAMSTARS opponent is going to be a little bit of a rematch from what we saw in the qualifiers. It's going to be Komodo, a team that we highlighted early on and got to catch them win in a 2-0 fashion. They look very fierce. The last time these two teams played, it was a heavy hitting match as well, so I expect nothing less here in our upper bracket final.
Yeah, and I loved what we had seen from Komodo during our first set. You know, they seemed very, very comfortable. Of course, our opening game, game one, didn't go down a single stock, completely just dominating the entire time. Game two for them was a little bit more tricky. You know, sometimes you might have some, I don't want to say false expectations, but you realize the competition might be a little bit more hard. So they are definitely going to be bringing their A game. Once again, the players here, Cody, ICL, Endo, and Reborn. You know, Endo, we didn't really talk much about them, but they were the MVP for a majority of the positions at the end of game one and game two. Just very dominant from start to finish, and we just love to see them play.
Absolutely. I mean, all four of these players more than capable of holding their own, but they have fierce opponents that we got to watch on the other end as well. The FOAMSTARS team having the closest match we've had all night, but nonetheless, they're here for a reason. The fact that they were able to squeeze by in those high pressure situations, it might just equip them to get the job done once again over Komodo. We got Aaron, Dizzy, Snail, and Risu, four very good players that we got to see showcase in that previous matchup. So we'll see if the FOAMSTARS team can pull off another one here, but this is going to be a tough one to win.
Yeah, and if you're FOAMSTARS, you don't have a lot of time to relax. You just came off of a very, very active game two and game three. You know, if you're Komodo, you've had a little bit more time to just kind of digest, you know, get some water. you get a little bit of a breather too. And I think too, the best part for them is they're able to just kind of watch in and see what's going on in the set. When you're done with yours, you know, a lot of these players are, you know, a lot of these players, they can tune into the other players too, so they just know what to look for and get a little bit of an inside scoop. But like you said, this is a team that they're facing from the first qualifier, so these players know each other already. And I mean, maybe not know each other very well, but kind of know what's to come. I'm sure there might be some characters that are a little bit different from when they played a few weeks ago during the first qualifier, but more or less, since, you know, a lot of the players that we have seen haven't really been switching up their characters that much, it's going to be probably staying very similar to what we've already seen.
We've seen consistency in terms of the characters that each player has selected, so if they deviate from that, that'll be interesting for sure. But I do believe if they, assuming they run the same characters that we've seen earlier today, we'll have a little bit of differences as well. Melty, of course, being a unique one that we saw that other teams weren't necessarily running. Again, it feels like with the short amount of time that the game has been out, these guys have elected to just go for mastering one character in particular and doing a really good job at it. And I think that's safe to say for both of these teams, whatever character they end up selecting, they will be more than equipped to do so. Where it does get interesting, though, is if they decide to switch it up for a particular matchup, or expecting the enemy team to choose a certain character and trying to counter comp that or what have you. So I think it's going to be interesting if we get any meta developments here of if there are characters that do really well in particular to other ones, if they've figured out hidden ways to kind of get in there and deal with other enemies in a certain fashion. I think this is going to really showcase how much these players have truly figured out about the game.
You're right. It's not always about what works best for you and your play style. It's what works best against your opponents. And let's hop into here for the winners finals match. Again, this is going to be FOAMSTARS versus Komodo, and we're going to be taking a look here at Komodo on the screen. FOAMSTARS now coming in, and like you said, pretty much the same weapons or the same characters that we had seen previously. So not a lot of changes here that we will be expecting, but this will be a very close game one, I hope. It's going to be really fun.
Absolutely. Kicking off here with the pink end. This is going to be Komodo, Pixelated Cody, where our point of view is going to go for now. They're trying to set up immediately, both ends, picking a side and working their way clockwise. It's going to be a lot of pink foam on this end. On the cross side, it's going to be a lot of blue. Each side trying to dictate the pace of this, how it plays out. Some weaker characters on the other end, too. Doesn't look like they're electing to get too crazy aggressive yet, though. Now a little sharp dive in here as well. Agito knows he needs to stay healthy. You can see that HP bar very low. He's actually going to get tagged here as well, shouting for help, looking for teammates to save him, and they do manage to get him just in the nick of time, so no stock lost here for Komodo.
Yeah, and Komodo, they were the first ones to break into mid and tried to fan out FOAMSTARS a little bit, but ultimately it was Komodo who was starting to struggle a little bit and having a lot of the players retreat, and that's how FOAMSTARS were able to take control of mid. And with that, 2 stocks are going to be going down, 3 stocks are going to be going down on the side of Komodo. Make that 4, so FOAMSTARS really turning up the heat just about 1 minute in. All of those stocks went down in a matter of about 10 seconds or so. So, you know, it's going to be an uphill battle for Komodo if they want to try and survive. And FOAMSTARS has a lot of foam here on the map right now. Of course, we see the ice cream from Mel T coming out from the long range here. We're taking a look at Soa from Aaron, who's going to be coming out, again, a little bit more of an aggressive play style here. Using these skills, what I love about that skill is that you're able to move when you use it, able to jump over some walls along with getting some foam out on the ground. And it looks like now Komodo is able to get a little bit more chills as they can, but I don't know, a few of their members are going to be going down, so FOAMSTARS still looking very strong.
They've managed to save a few, but this trade more than worth it for the side of FOAMSTARS. It is 6-2. Still some low HP characters on the other end. You can see the health bar above those enemy characters on the pink side. They're all the way backed up into their spawn, too. A lot of blue foam on the map. They're just looking to try and break free. They finally claim another stock. They're expanding out, and FOAMSTARS need to be careful not to let them get the better of them here. You saw the Emperor Penguin down as well, so some superstar skills going down for both ends as Aaron looks to charge forward, blow up. He'll take to the skies for now. Bubble step away with about half HP. Looks for some follow-up tags, but more importantly, looking for safety.
Yeah, that was a really good spiky from Aaron, avoiding the Penguin that was coming out from Reborn's Penguin. I think if they wouldn't have used the Superstar skill, they would have run out of HP, so sometimes you just got to use your Superstar skill to stay alive in the game, and that's exactly what Aaron did using Soa. So right now, we haven't had a lot of stocks go down recently. We're still at the 4-2 that we have been at a while. Of course, this is favoring FOAMSTARS just a little bit here, as Komodo is going to need to bring a little more to the table on the offensive side. We can see Mel T here backing up, using some of the ice cream there that they're going to be able to launch to try and get some more foam and to stay alive as well. And that's really bunching up Komodo. We can see 3 of their players just kind of in the back there, and I think that's where Mel T is going to thrive. You kind of have all of them just lined up a little bit for you to get your shots, and having it be a lock-on style is going to be very important, but not before they get in trouble themselves. But they will be saved by their teammate. Again, it's really nice that when you can't save your teammate, it's going to be very important, but they are going to go down, actually. So Komodo now down a stock, but look at this, FOAMSTARS down a few stocks as well. We are down 2-1 with 3.5 minutes remaining, Kenny.
Fantastic work from Komodo to stay disciplined, to stay calm. They see that giant death of ice cream beam go down on the map and immediately identify it. They get the chill, look for that, and end that immediately. Great awareness, and now a major comeback as well. It's going to be a tie ball game. There's the help as well. Actually, star player being determined. They're not able to get the save. They're looking for more as well. They smell blood in the water. Incoming shark as well. Soa on the other end being dictated as the star player here too. They're in hot pursuit of Aaron right now, who's trying to get away from all the action. Agito just trying to charge back up, and Aaron knows he has to stay safe. Somehow, some way, Komodo have managed to tie this up.
Yeah, they had able to tie it up, and Komodo icy out using Soa as well as the star player. So it's going to be very important. Again, it's always the fine balance of how aggressive can I be without putting myself in danger, because I need to help my team. I need to help them get chills. I need to help them get foam too. So it's always very hard to balance that. And I think both of these teams not having any of their star players really lose any of their health. They know the situation they're in. And, we just saw this from FOAMSTARS not too long ago, the same star player who is now being active. So again, they're just hoping for the same result, maybe it not to last as long as it did before, but Komodo is really doing a good job applying some pressure onto FOAMSTARS right now. But it looks like both players in a little bit of danger right now. We can see Komodo's player ICL is going to be getting a little bit more damage on them, but Aaron as well, a lot more damage too. So this is really where it's going to come down to. We see all the skills, all the superstar skills being used. These players are all so close to each other, Kenny. Nobody's backed up.
This is a close quarters engagement as well, and a big factor. Aaron has that superstar skill. If he gets in trouble, he can pop it to go indestructible for a short period of time. The health points very even for each end. As Dizzy's going to be in trouble here, they're going to look for this play, but Aaron's going down low. He knows what he has to do. He's going to get in that spiky sea urchin and run away from the enemy side. Cody piling up chills as well. 4 to his name right now as they look for a chance time there, keeping an eye on each side's superstar skills. Aaron trying to inform his teammates of what to do. For now, he's going to actually look to get a little more aggressive, expand this blue side, and they're looking at Icy Owl and trying to get some extra tags in here. Aaron taking a beating, though, beaten off the map as well, and just like that, Aaron falls. Komodo, major clutch up.
It was really impressive how fast the HP went down on the side of FOAMSTARS. You know, we saw Aaron use we saw them use the spiky to get away, but then they kept the aggression up. You know, that's one of those decisions, the split-second decisions that you just have to, you know, it's so hard to figure out what is going to be the ideal move in that situation. And, you know, they chose to be on a little bit of the aggressive side, and it unfortunately did not work out for them. And remember, the star player, they do gain a little bit more health. They are a little bit more strong when they play. That's just how it is, that you know, you get a little bit of a buff when you are the star player. But sometimes when you're attacked by a player like Agito, for instance, that just has a lot of power output, the tables can turn in a matter of seconds. And that is exactly what happened at the end of that game.
It started with a team wipe as well. Komodo were down 4 stock right off the riff of this game. They were in a very difficult stance. The enemy team was threatening them the whole time, encroaching on their territory, piling up foam on the map. And despite all of that, despite being in their spawn, they somehow claw their way out of it, bring it to an even scoreline. They even get Aaron down to his star player first. This is the big moment right here where Aaron is looking to get really aggressive, decides to go in. They have to pop this superstar skill for defense. It's not the worst thing in the world, but ideally, if you're going to have that sea urchin, you're going to be wanting to use it to lead the charge for your team or cover the map in foam for yourselves. And I think this big moment right here, all the damage piling up, they really punish Aaron for being by himself. Need good game awareness, and Komodo getting the job done in an epic comeback. That was an absolute clinic there towards the end of that game.
Yeah, and I don't think Aaron really had much of a choice. You know, originally we saw them going towards the star player on the side of Komodo. That was Icy Owl, but there were a lot of foam that was being shot from the other direction. So they figured, hey, my options are to go in the enemy foam or to just rush towards the star player. And that's the gut decision like that you need to make. And it's so difficult sometimes, because you know the battle's going to end pretty soon. When both of the star players are going at it like that, you're like, uh-oh, something's going to happen. But it just matters, it's just a matter of where your teammates are and how well they're able to support you. And for Komodo, they were a little bit more supported at that moment. I think they had a little bit more players online as well, so they were able to, you know, just put a little bit more of that aggression on the side of Aaron. And like you said, Aaron was the second person to be a star player. Icy Owl was the first star player. So Icy Owl did such a fantastic job just navigating, when should I move away, when should I be aggressive, where should I position myself. And I feel like that map in particular is very tricky. There aren't a lot of places to hide, not a lot of vertical height. You know, you have the little bumpers around the side, but for the most part, you're not very hidden at all, and that just favors a lot of the longer range characters in the game. You don't have like a lot of the height elevation that you can hide, so a very impressive win for Komodo as they win game 1.
For sure. I think just keeping calm, keeping cool, keeping collected, and that's going to be something that is needed if you want to go the distance in this tournament, especially when the stakes are high. Of course, we've seen the other side, the FOAMSTARS, clutch up in moments as well just tonight, just a match ago. They're certainly not out of it yet. They were certainly competitive throughout all of that, so I still have high expectations for both these ends. I don't think a Game 3 is out of the question, but it is a great point to call out that map's really interesting in the sense that it feels like the middle is just a basin of flat, and as you move out, it kind of slopes up and you work your way out. It didn't feel like we had as much of those height battles going on. We didn't see Melty in the corner just kind of standing on a pile of foam way up above the map and shooting down. It took a little more skill and a little more arrangement of the team for that. I think we're going to see these players try and group up, take advantage in situations like that, or try and look to build that foam up so they can get some kind of height advantage. It's what makes the game unique. Every game is dynamic, every game different, every player can impact directly of how the map shapes up.
Exactly. Your playstyle is going to be changing based on the map that is selected too. So, you know, there's no one-size-fits-all model for these players and the game. So that's what keeps it so fun and engaging and exciting. But I know FOAMSTARS, they're looking to get this Game 2 victory. They want to prolong the set. They don't want Komodo to get very comfortable. And I mean, if I'm Komodo, I'm not comfortable to begin with just because of how close that game was. But, you know, it's always so difficult when it comes down to a star player versus star player situation. But on the bright side, that just goes to show how even these teams are.
It did really feel that way. It was a huge back and forth moment. You know, the further we've gone along in this tournament, the more we've started to see some of these star players, for lack of a better term, show up, not just in the game, but all of them really featuring themselves and bringing something unique to the table. So we'll be hopping into another game of Smash the Star, of course. No real change-ups on this end, it looks like. Pretty consistent the whole way through, but this time we're actually going to see a little bit of a mix-up here. I think that's a Jet Justice on the screen.
Yeah, that is a Jet Justice, and we talked about Jet Justice a little bit earlier today, but they were an all-around shooter type that can change the range of the shooter depending on how long you charge it. So a more versatile weapon. You know, I don't blame them for choosing a player like Jet Justice, that you need to be able to take down some of the strong players on the other team. But again, we were talking about how a lot of these players are very comfortable with one player in particular. We're not going to see a lot of movement, but when we do see a new player come out, that makes it very much more exciting.
Love to see it as well, and great use there to replenish the ammo immediately. If you use that skill and go under the water, you're going to be able to get your ammo back instantly. So Agito going to be just fine here for now. No stock being taken from either end yet. As we get to the middle, this is where the height really starts to drop off, and a unique feature of this map too. The middle explodes up a little bit, so there is a little bit of dynamic height that shapes up throughout the duration of the match.
Yeah, and don't forget the ball that rolls around in the stage, kind of clearing some of the foam in its way too. So it's never a stage that, you know, you foam one area and it's content for the entire time. You got to make sure that you're always foaming. And Komodo, speaking of foaming, they are doing such a good job. That is going to be the Barista Door who is being used. And again, long range hose that they are able to just kind of get a lot of foam out to help support their team. They're going to be in the back just a little bit and help make their teammates a little more agile.
Love seeing the Barista Door know his place, keeping the distance, looking to help out allies as well. There's a big pickup as well, though. Dizzy getting taken down. So now it's 7-4, whereas last game was a team wipe for the side of FOAMSTARS. This time, it's Komodo who get a little four-piece in here early. A major lead, and they already have one game on top of that. This is going to be a tricky situation now for FOAMSTARS.
Yeah, it really is. They haven't been in this situation for any of the games yet that we have seen here on this stream. So Komodo's really turning up the heat here. I think the confidence is showing as well. They're doing such a good job with their lockout too. And look at this giant foam wall that players can safely recharge their foam in to make sure that they are injured or lose any of their HP. The folks are trying to find ways that they can break through, but they don't seem to be able to do that quite yet. We are going to see the shark from Agito come out as well. They are going to be taking down one more. There is a chance as well. Another chance too. One stock remaining star player is going to be out. That is going to be Aaron once again. But Komodo not dropping any of their stocks in a much more comfortable situation and position than we saw during game one.
The good news for FOAMSTARS is they do get Soa as their star player. Having somebody that can maneuver around the map quickly, that can go into the sky if needed, that's a big deal. The mobility is a major factor. The bad news, they're down 7 stock. This is massive. We haven't seen anybody really overcome this big of a deficit yet here tonight, and now they're tasked with doing it against a team like Komodo, who are letting it rain with their superstar skills. The Barista Door holding on to one of their own, and now they're starting to claw their way up the map as well. Aaron is going to be in a difficult situation if he's not careful.
Yeah, and we'd love to see Endor provide one of their teammates there, giving them a nice save. You know, it's always great when you can save your teammates. You don't want to make sure that you lose any of your stocks and get a player disadvantage. But look at this, 3 chance opportunities. I know it's not the star player, but you want to make sure that you can take those players out so they can't revive the star player. That's exactly what's going to happen. This is a very bad situation for FOAMSTARS because not a lot of their players are alive. I think Komodo knows knows that right now, but they have to be aware of some of these skills that are being used on the side of FOAMSTARS. So the Barissador wisely backing up, giving themselves some space so that they have more room to foam, and that's going to give Aaron a little bit more opportunity to stay alive and regain some of their health, but they still are in a little bit of danger. But speaking of danger, a few members from Komodo are as well. They did drop another stock too, but Aaron is getting more health the longer this goes. But FOAMSTARS, they are really turning up the heat right now.
This is difficult. Aaron has somehow survived all that, nearly single-handedly surviving a 1 versus 3 onslaught here. He hasn't had much time to recuperate that valuable health point either. He's only about halfway right now. He's got plenty of liquid in the tank. He can shoot some shots if needed, but more importantly, he's just trying to survive. The tough task for them as well is going to be making sure that they get rid of these stocks, and they're slowly but surely working their way down. That's a third one now that they've taken. Perfect height for the Barissador as well. He's letting it rain with all of that foam down the map as Aaron's taking a few more chips of health. Getting down to a final sliver here. Needs to be careful. Going to be chance timed, and he does get saved. We're going to be able to hold on. Oh, just knocked off. It was a great attempt there, but Komodo were ruthless, and now Komodo with a major win here. They have guaranteed themselves now a victory and a straight shot to the grand finals.
And no better way to do it than a 4-0 victory over a team that just was a nail-biter during Game 1. You know, FOAMSTARS, they were so strong in the qualifiers and definitely deserved to be here. They got the bye during the first round, and going down to Komodo, again, a team who they've played before too. And again, let's talk about Aaron, because Aaron did such a good job in Game 2 and Game 3 for staying alive and just making sure that they weren't going down. But Komodo, once they locked out FOAMSTARS, it was so hard for FOAMSTARS to get anywhere near mid again. You just had to have Aaron kind of run around, survive just a little bit, and, you know, kind of do their thing. But I don't think FOAMSTARS really ever had a full player advantage. Now, they were able to get some stocks off of Komodo, which is great. You definitely need to do that if you're going to win, but you're always playing from a deficit, which makes it so difficult. And here we can see these are going to be the final few moments where the star player is going to be coming out from Aaron, and all the stocks are still alive for Komodo. But the position that we see the players in here haven't really changed for the rest of the game.
You can see in just that short shot of just how much action is going down. This is what the players are dealing with on their end. And not to mention, too, Aaron really not set up for success there. Like you mentioned, that early deficit did not do them any favors. They were down in terms of player count pretty much the rest of the way, and there is the final blow there. What a kick across the map. He's out of bounds. He can't quite make it in. He's doing his best to touch down, but he just can't quite get there. Really impressive stuff there in that game. I'm very, very eager to see if anybody can take these guys down in the grand finals. I think the FOAMSTARS are still clearly a great team. Aaron and Soa, a big factor for that squad. That's certainly a takeaway I have. But on the other end, the Barissador, so good for Komodo as the MVP, and I think deservingly so. You saw big height advantages in that game, and I think they really punished the enemy side for letting them get there.
Yeah, Barissador, that's one of the characters. Once they get comfortable, you need to move them out because they know exactly the areas that they're going to be foaming. They're going to be very comfortable. I'm positioned here. I'm just going to be foaming your side the entire time, letting my teammates push in and get those key kills, which is very, very important that we saw. And I think, too, FOAMSTARS, they're going to be a very tough team in the losers bracket. They're going to be, you know, in the losers finals and awaiting to see which teams that they're going to be facing. But they're not going to go down without a fight. And we saw that the aggression that they showed during these games, especially in Game 2, that of course was a nail-biter, and Game 3, that's where Komodo shined. I think changing some of the comps a little bit too, you know, having the Barissador, like we said, just having all of the foam that you're able to have on the map really came into play, and they pushed up so early. Komodo, they got that lockout with maybe about a minute and a half into the game and just kept it the entire time.
Fantastic back-to-back matches there. Don't go anywhere. Grab some popcorn. We've still got plenty of action left on the night. But for now, we're going to throw to a quick break.
Gaming is defined by moments.
It is intense.
The joy of victory and the thrill of overcoming challenges. Welcome to our home of competitive gaming, where we can all experience exciting esports moments.
The final 1v1 of the game here.
And celebrate the pros and the rising stars.
I do want to see a female in the NCS.
Bringing you guides and deep dives.
Horizon can go up, but she can't go up fast.
And tournaments where the community competes.
Wait! Did he get? No way!
Whether you're in a heated match,
Back, let's go.
or watching along at the edge of your seat.
A duo taking down a trio.
Let's create moments from the games you love.
He'll take it.
Join us and subscribe to our channel to follow everything esports on PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Enlist in the galaxy's elite fighting force. Work together to protect your future. Join the Hellbenders, the galaxy's last line of offense.
PlayStation.
Waiting for the chance. There's a hidden strength to set free. When you feel it, it's surreal. It's no surprise. We rise. The earth shakes. The sky shivers. The stars fall out of alignment. We are the sinners. The new stars standing defiant. Hanging off the edge, waiting for a sign, waiting for somebody to defend. Don't you wait too long, there's a map inside of your head. When you feel it, it's surreal, it's no surprise. We rise, the earth shakes, the sky shivers, the stars fall out of alignment.
consolations. Because we're the best above all the rest, and we're feeling fresh, so you know. We're champions, we got confidence, and we walk the walk alone. We're ready to go. Yeah, we're ready to go. No, there ain't no stopping us. We got something dangerous, and we're ready to go. Yeah, we're ready.
We ain't waiting no more. We got places to go. We gon' have a good time. We gon' have a good time. So we shut down the scene. Yeah, you know what I mean. We gon' have a good time. We gon' have a good time. What you do with it? So smooth with it. Come through, baby, act cool with it. Ain't no telling how I move with it. Rich girl, like you're rude with it. I be going hard. Too slow. 3, 2, 1, I'm blown. Too big to take that offer. Don't ask me to be bold, cause it would be my honor. I'ma be great for sure. With the bad vibes, we don't even bother. Energy stays so grown. 6 feet, but I'm spending on my wallet. We ain't waiting no more. We got places to go. We gon' have a good time. We gon' have a good time. Celebration, jump started my bag at the last station. I'ma come up from the bottom, no basement. Come and look what I created, that's crazy. 3, 2, 1, I'm blown. Too big to take that offer. Don't ask me to be bold, cause it would be my honor. I'ma be great for sure. With the bad vibes, we don't even bother. Energy stays so grown. 6 feet, but I'm standing on my wallet. We ain't waiting no more. We got places to go. We gon' have a good time. We gon' have a good time. So we shut down the scene. Yeah, you know what I mean. We gon' have a good night. We gon' have a good night.
Maybe I'm dreaming. You caught my eyes there in the street. That the whole world held their breath for a minute. Should I be grateful? While the taste be bittersweet. For the moment of perfection it slipped away. Away, 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 away. You were there for the moment it slipped away. Away, 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 away. You were there for the moment that slipped away. We could be dreaming. We could be dreaming. Maybe we're dreaming. We could blossom in springtime. It is hard to say goodbye. You were there for a moment, it slips away, 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 away. You were there for a moment, it slipped away, 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 away. You were there for a moment that slipped away. We could be dreaming. We could be dreaming. Maybe we're dreaming. We could be dreaming. We were there for a moment. There for a moment. There for a moment. Slipped away. We were there for a moment.
Welcome back, Foam Fighters. We are here with our glorious party, and a lot of action has already unfolded. I'm Kenny, joined with me, Falco, to break down some more awesome matches. I'm really impressed with what we've seen so far today, and that previous match we just saw, certainly a great one to encapsulate the great games we've had tonight.
Yeah, you know, a 2-0 on paper, but not certainly a 2-0 from what we had seen. You wouldn't have guessed it. It has been really impressive. So our winners finals champion has been determined. We have Komodo. They are going on to the grand finals, and they are going to be awaiting the team who wins the losers finals. Now, we still have quite a few matches here in the losers bracket. Next up, we'll have Celicious versus I'm Foaming. If you guys were here in our broadcast earlier, we saw I'm Foaming versus FOAMSTARS, who just went down to Komodo, so we could see a little bit of a redemption happening there. But yeah, I'm Foaming getting a nice 2-0 victory over Let's Cook, and Celicious getting that 2-0 victory over South Park Foamers, and they're about to go head-to-head.
Considering how well I'm Foaming played against FOAMSTARS, I'm not surprised to see them come out on top here. I'm Foaming is now going to be with another opportunity. If they win this one, could be a little bit of a grudge match and revenge, starting some of those rivalries that we might have for the future of FOAMSTARS amongst these teams as well. So really impressive stuff from them. We know they are more than equipped to deal with a high pressure and high stakes situation. Of course, in the lower bracket, all of these teams only have one tournament life remaining. If they lose, it is go home, and everybody, of course, going to be competing for that $3,000 top prize.
Yeah, so let's take a look at Celicious here. We haven't seen them yet today, so let's take a look at their roster. We're going to be having Hoosier, Dan, Powers, and Waker, so a fun team. You know, we were able to look in a little bit before the tournament started to look at some of these players, and, you know, not necessarily aware of what all of the characters that they're going to be playing, but kind of like you said, going up against a very tough I'm Foaming team that they're going to be facing, who we had seen prior.
Absolutely. This is going to be a good one for sure. I mean, nobody makes it this far by mistake. I'm Foaming, a team that we saw earlier on broadcast as well. They are fantastic. They gave a good run at FOAMSTARS. It came down to the final seconds, and they just so happened to lose. But they are here. They are still present in the tournament. This is a team we had a feeling that we might see later on in the night, and now is their time to once again shine, and this time possibly take the win.
Exactly, and you know, they're the only team who lost in a decisive Game 3 so far the entire bracket. So, you know, they're not where they wanted to be, but hey, they're where they were positioned. So they're going to be fighting their victory. And again, if you're Celicious too, you have to know that I'm Foaming is going to be some tough competition.
For sure. I mean, this is not going to be an easy one, to say the least. We're a little more familiar, of course, with I'm Foaming since we've seen them. We know what they're capable of. We saw a strong gameplay from them earlier. It's a little more of a question mark with Celicious. Do they have what it takes to compete against somebody in I'm Foaming who went down to the wire with FOAMSTARS, who are the next player in advance that they could be facing if they win this? Only time will tell, of course. We're going over to Smash the Star, the game mode for our tournament here. Earlier, we saw I'm Foaming run Soa, Agito, Ravebreaker, and Tonics, and it looks like not much has changed there, so not much of rolling dice and switching things up as we get into our match here. On the other end, we've got a Penguin, a Tonics, a Ravebreaker, all very familiar stuff, of course, that we've seen tonight. Everybody bringing a little unique flair, every team just doing something a little bit different, which I love to see.
Right, exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all model for these teams, and that always keeps us on our toes and makes it very, very exciting. So once again, both of these teams are going to be just trying to find their positioning. Of course, we're playing on a stage that has a little bit more elevation this time around. So it's going to benefit both teams in unique ways. We can see both teams just trying to get a little bit of a feel, getting some foam out, especially from some of these ranged players out on the field, like Onyx, who we are taking a look at right now. And no stocks are lost quite yet, but we see Celicious a little bit on the aggressive end, pincering in on I'm foaming, but they want to make sure they're walking out and not getting in the way of some of the skills from I'm foaming.
A nice dodge there, and you mentioned as well, this map, Aqua Blast Adventure. There's a lot of height on this map. There's several platforms that are elevated like you saw there, so I'm going to be interested to see how teams can acquire them, use them to their advantage, and take advantage of the positioning. For now, it is going to be the pink roster of I'm Foaming, taking to the top of one of those platforms as well. Now being launched in the air too. Neither side able to claim a chill yet, but they're both going to be working towards a little piece control of this map, trying to establish some foam control so that they can maneuver around a little bit easier. And first sights of a chill possibly gets knocked around, but it's one for each side, so it's still going to be a tie for now.
Kirk, you're by yourself.
And I think a slow and steady game that we're seeing right now, which again, it's kind of the approach that sometimes you just have to take it. You don't want to ever push anything that's not quite there. Take advantage of what's in front of you and not really put yourself or your teammates in danger. So I think both of the teams are doing very well with that. Here we're going to take a look at one of the Soa players, and that is going to be Floody here. And again, Soa, a very nice agile character that can just kind of get themselves out of sticky situations or foamy situations, if you will, and able to stay alive. But they're one of the players that you want to be putting kind of in the front line just a little bit, but you don't want to make sure that they're going to get too uncomfortable.
That's a great point. We saw Fluidity earlier play phenomenally as the star player when it came down to those in-game situations, and just being able to maneuver around the map. Having the extra mobility is a big deal, but a lot of damage going down right now. The giant shark in danger of claiming its first victim, and it does manage to claim one there. That's going to be an instant takedown. You see him looking at the menu screen as well. I noticed an ult nearly being charged up. There it is as well. Now flipping over. A superstar skill charged up here. They're going to be dropping just a simple turret for now. They have a 1 deficit in terms of the stock category. Sweetchand kind of getting their bearings under them, taking their time, and looking to make those flanks. We got an interesting insight earlier of the comms from Bino saying, you're alone, frantically. This is something that everybody is aware of. You need to make sure you're with your team, you're not going in isolated situations, and making sure you're taking advantage of opportunities as a unit.
Yeah, certainly. And I think that's Hoosier's doing a very good job with that, using that King Blaster as one of these superstar skills to push in with it. That's going to have a giant foam robot that pushes forward, and you want to make sure you work with it. But look at this, a few players in tricky situations for Celicious. They were a little bit in danger, but we are still at that 5 to 6 stock remaining for these teams, with about 3 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. So again, a little bit of a slower pace. I think the range weapons are doing a very good job kind of like respecting the place and not being too involved in the enemy own. But we're going to be tying our stocks up 5 to 5. We're going to be looking at Waker here once again, trying to find a way to push forward and doing such a good job. The bubbles coming out of Soa, not very lethal, but do such a good job at just covering everything that is in front of you. And that's always see them push forward, slowly back up a little bit, push forward, slowly back up a little bit, over and over again, and not really be caught in the enemy foam.
Another bubble step to try and press forward as well. They're going to be able to get a chance off this, and an instant takedown as well. 3 chills now for Bino, who's been a major player for this side. It's 5 to 3, 2 advantage, and they're going to go straight for height, taking their time, letting it rain with bubbles as they see a player all by themselves. They're low HP as well, and a connection there too. You hear the call out, the frustration going down as they were looking to just get an easy pickup, but instead now it's a complete brawl between both sides. Low liquid as well. Now they need to be careful about how they approach this. You see several helps on the screen. They need assistance from the teammates, one of them going to fall at least, and it looks like they managed to get a second one up. This is still not great for the side of I'm Foaming though. Fluidity trying to get his team out of this 3 deficit.
Yeah, really trying their hardest, but they are doing a good job reviving some of their teammates from time to time. Yeah, Fluidity is doing a good job identifying where their teammates are when there is a chance to save them, and they are able to strike through. And of course, when you're as mobile as the player that they are, is going to be very helpful. But look at this, coming in and striking and saving from Celicious. That is going to be Soa using the spiky, and that's 5 chills. So the first star player is out on the field. It is going to be Hercules from the side of I'm Foaming, and they're going to be trying to stay alive and once again just not put themselves in really tricky situations, but more of just being aware where their teammates are and trying to survive.
Celicious, 4 stock to their name, and now dishing out damage onto Hercules. They do manage to lose one in the process. Not a good sign for them. They want to play this cautiously. They still have 1.5 minutes on the clock after all. They can just run this out with the stock advantage that they have. They don't need to get desperate here. But on the other end, it's going to be tough. Easier said than done. The star player, of course, does get that HP buff. It's tougher to take down, but they're making it look easy right now. Star player falling to about half HP here for Hercules. Agito trying to do his best. It looked like we saw an Emperor Penguin go down there as well. They found a pick off here as well, looking for the chance, the connection from the surfboard as well. Get a major slap there. You see the chills piling up for both ends with less than a minute to go. A poor Agito all by himself, and an enemy onslaught coming through as well. Hercules now foamed up, looking for any signs of teammates, and there are none. Celicious gonna be claiming the first game.
Claiming the first game. I think, man, what was so hard for the side of I'm Foaming was they had one of their power players, Agito, as the star player, where if you have a lot of power, you need to be on the offensive side. You don't always want to be, you know, kind of running around avoiding some of the foam from the other team. So not having your close range power style player push forward and having them retreat and, you know, stay alive, that's a hard position to be in. It's not like a Soa character who we'd seen previously, who had typically been the star character, who the star player who was able to just kind of, you know, run around in the foam, surf around and stay alive and do their thing and, you know, foam when they could and attack when they could. You need a player like Agito who's going to be attacking, and when they're the star player, it is really hard to figure out a game plan.
That's one of the unique features about this game. It's so difficult to end up selecting those characters because, like you mentioned, I feel like that's why we've seen Soa every single game that we've played. No team has lacked a Soa for that reason. If you end up getting that star player and your Soa is performing well, they're likely going to end up being that star player for you. They're going to have the mobility that you're looking for to be just offensive enough to hang tough, but also have enough defensive capability to get out of terrible situations. And Agito being that shotgun character, it's not easy for him to necessarily just disengage. He has to be up close to be getting value for his knife. So that's kind of the pros and cons of some of these selections that you're going to have. On the other end, if the support brawler ends up getting all of that, it's really tough for them. They can't deliver the offense that you need, especially not taking advantage of the extra health that you have. So I think for these character selections, it all is very interesting. It's very detailed, and that's something that this game has really brought to life here. And just all the more reason why I feel like every team needs to have that Soa.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think too what's hard is you can't choose who the star player is going to be. You know, it's the player who typically does perform the best, you know, through various metrics and whatnot, and it's not always going to be the same player every time, but like you mentioned, it typically is a player like Soa who is going to be in the nitty-gritty of it, going to be getting those foams, going to be getting those chills, and when you have a player like Agito who's your star player, it's so difficult. You got to make sure that they're in a good position and protected, and they are mobile, but they're not mobile without their foam, and it's harder for them to foam and escape. So that's why that star player didn't last as long as we've typically seen in other games, but that's just how the cookie crumbles.
Absolutely. It's a tough call there, and I feel like all things considered, Agito probably not the worst one to have as your star player, but like we mentioned a few times, it's certainly not the easiest. You have those capabilities of going under the foam and diving in with the shark and your skill, but on the other end, you have to be in the faces of your opposition to really be getting value as Agito, so it's a very delicate situation. It's very tough to traverse. If you do end up popping off, you're gonna have a ton of health points. You can take some incoming damage, but if your teammates are falling like we saw there and Agito's left by himself, he's not not somebody that can deal with multiple characters all at once. It's a little bit harder. You can take a shotgun blast and really only aim it at one and maybe two people at a time if you're lucky and that close to them, but that's just such a difficult thing to juggle, especially for how early on we are in FOAMSTARS. These guys are already so good at the characters they've selected, but it's just very difficult to kind of overcome that certain situation. So I'm impressed that they made it that far. I think it was a tough situation for Agito, and all the more reason to take advantage and have that stock lead going in towards those end games.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, we've seen it become so close, but typically the team who does get the stock advantage early on is going to be the one who survives, and that's not always the case. You know, we've seen those matches turn around, but you just want to put yourself on the safer end and make sure that you're not put in that position. But yeah, that can be very difficult to avoid just because you don't know how well coordinated the enemy teams are. You know, it's really scary when you see 4 superstar skills come out at the same time and you just have nowhere to go, and maybe it's not a stage that you're accustomed to, maybe the stage isn't one that benefits your character as much either. So there's just so many variables that go into each game.
We're definitely seeing that unfold a little bit. We've seen several maps at this point, the same mode every time, of course, and we kind of see how each of them play out a little bit differently. We've seen instances where those long-range characters have been huge winning points for teams. We've seen Mel T pop off, the Baristador claim an MVP earlier. That one, it was Ravebreaker, who does have that hose, not necessarily that long-range character that we're looking for, but a little bit of can do it all, right? Can go under the foam if needed and pop out with a barrage of foam to drop in front of you, has those landmines to get a little tricky. I love the character. Makes sense to me that we see a Ravebreaker pop off there, but that's the kind of character for me that you also don't want to necessarily see being your star player at the end of it. So I think the fact that they're able to avoid that and seeing that they got that MVP, it could have very likely been that Ravebreaker if we came down to that moment. So I think avoiding that was actually huge for that side.
Yeah, certainly. And like you mentioned, Ravebreaker and Baristador, you're probably going to have one of 2 of those characters on your team just on how well they are able to foam the arena. You know, we already touched up on Soa. It's I'd be surprised if we don't see a Soa basically. Agreed. At this point. We're kind of at that stage now, and of course we're seeing the best of the best here in North America for our very first FOAMSTARS tournament too. And again, things will change and adapt too as time goes on, and especially, you know, later on we're probably going to be getting some, you know, a lot more information, a lot more knowledge coming from the game. But let's hop into game 2. We will see if I'm Foaming can make a comeback or if Celicious will hold on and progress through.
We've seen I'm Foaming already on broadcast here tonight. Pop off, make some epic comebacks, but fall just short. Now they don't have an opportunity to fumble. This is their last life. If they lose this game, they are going home. And Celicious with a 1-0 advantage will be taking off here to start our game number 2. Best of 3 situation in our lower bracket semifinals. And once again, the name we've called out all night, the woman with the dual-wield pistols. It is going to be Soa for the side here, and already some heavy hitting shots going down and height instantly being taken. I love this, going straight onto the fountain, looking down at the enemies rather than looking at them eye to eye.
Yeah, you know, there's pros and cons to being on that fountain. The pro is you do have the height advantage in a very key spot, but a con is that you can't foam underneath you. You know, you have no escape route that's really easily other than dropping down, and sometimes that can be very tricky. But for Celicious right now, it's actually paying off. They do have a stock advantage, and a few of the members on the side of Foaming are getting a little weaker. So that's going to be another one down. There's going to be advance, and that's going to be a third one down as well. So Celicious up in a 7-4 stock advantage with just under a minute into the game.
Celicious coming out swinging here. Only a minute on the clock and already 3 stocks down for the side of I'm Foaming. They're looking for more as well. You can see the chance time in the sky for pink side. They look for the slap and they end up getting them both. Down to 2 stock here. We're a minute and 15 in and 5 kills have already happened. They are piling it up right now, looking for another one too. There goes another one rolling down the map. They're already down to a star player and it's going to be Tonix. I don't know if that's the character you're going to want to see for that side.
Yeah, Tonix does not have a lot of ability to kind of get out of sticky situations. They have a medium range assist style, so it's not necessarily something that's very malleable, but more of you just need to stay alive and support your team. Now, we're able to get a stock off of Celicious, so they are able to have that It's working towards them, but still, it's going to be really, really tricky if I'm foaming is going to want to progress here. To look at this, 2 chances to get other members out. That's going to be 3 of 4 chill for the side of Hoosier. That's very, very impressive. They are tearing it up in this game.
Bino going to be left alone here if they're not careful. It's going to be a difficult one, too. This is normally a support character. Does have that medium-range assault rifle, like you mentioned. You can hold it down to get a little bit of a grenade, but I don't know if it's going to do much for them right now. An ult being popped here, too, as Bino falls to about half health here. A 4th stock now. Down to their final 4. Still with a huge advantage, though, looking at the enemy characters from the skies and trying to get out of harm's way. Not going to be able to get out of it. They're actually going to be a slap them out of here. Could be a good turnaround here. Celicious had a major advantage, still holding on to a 3-stock lead, and Bino actually able to regenerate some of those health points is going to be very vital. I wouldn't rule them out of them quite yet. There's still 4 minutes on the clock.
Right, I was just going to bring that up, that we saw Bino had less than half of their HP left, but no, it is all the way back towards the top now. Of course, the star player is going to regain some of the health. They're going to be the most powerful player in the game, and I mean, that's benefiting them. You know, maybe having one of the players who's naturally going to be backing off anyways is going to work towards your advantage. That way, you know, they don't have to play in your face and all that. But yeah, Celicious still now, okay, having a 3-stock advantage is good. It's definitely, you know, not the situation they were in before, and you do have a little bit of wiggle room, but you don't want to rely on that stock advantage. But Celicious, they haven't been able to apply any pressure on the star player, that is Bino, again, who is the Tonics player. But man, I would say for right now, I'm foaming. They're doing such a good job staying alive, using some of these skills to just kind of maneuver around the field. And they have time on their side, too. 3 minutes is quite a long time to get at least 3 stocks to potentially go into overtime.
Any character they can pick off here will add up. Bino needs to be careful, but of course the rest of the team just looking for any play against the enemy side. A great save here as well, so they're still going to hold on to that 3-stock lead. Soa playing the back lines here. This blue side knows that it's just a game against the clock at this point. If they manage to hold on to their stock, they are fine. Bino fully healthy, a little bit harder to take down, of course, with that increased health from the star player, so they might just elect to get more passive here, but some excellent plays coming out from the pink side. A lot of foam going down the map, a chance going up as well. Now trying to surfboard into it, not managing to get much out of it yet, and with 2.5 left, a big brawl going down in the middle of the map.
Yeah, I'd say one thing that's working for Celicious's favor is they have a lot of map control with all of the foam. They are taking down players from I'm Foaming left and right. We see the 4 chills there on the side of Waker. And of course, it's still advantageous to foam and chill the opposing team, not even necessarily the star player. That's going to be one less player that could potentially revive the star player. And I think Celicious is doing a good job. You know, time is on their side at this point. It's not really at a point now that you want to retreat and just kind of spread out and, you know, play it safe, because you never know what's going to happen in a matter of 2 minutes. But we're going to see Soa come out with this spiky, just trying to chase down one of the members from I'm Foaming. But this whole time, Bino just has not lost any health. They have just been surviving this entire time, and I don't think that's really going to be helping Celicious that much. But of course, we mentioned time is on their side, and if they last this minute 30 seconds without going down to their star player, they will be winning this game.
They're hanging in there for now, and now they've targeted Bino as well. They see him in their sights. Of course, playing Tonics, kind of have to just play that more passive style. I think it's not a character that's going to be up close, in your face all the time, relying on utility, and that utility can be destroyed, so they have to be careful about how they place it, how they interact with the other team, and for now, it is going to be several blue side members going at the enemy characters here, several chance times in the air as well, getting the help as well. Chance 1, chance 2, chance 3, several of them on the map in our screens. It's going to bring it down to just Bino here if they're not careful, and this could be a hairy situation. Less than a minute to go, and somehow Bino and their teammates have to get 3 stock off them.
Yeah, Celicious is playing this really well right now. They have a very fine line of being aggressive but knowing when to back off, and you know, that's the more the time goes down, the more important that becomes. It's not necessarily something you need to do when you have about 4 minutes remaining you're in this situation, but the lower the clock is, the more important it is in 30 seconds. 2 stocks left on the side of Celicious, so if I'm Foaming wants to stay in this game, they're going to need to look to try and get 2 chills in these last 20 seconds.
With 20 seconds to go, Bino and his teammates going to be racing against the clock here. They have to somehow find 2 stock out of this. A lot of pink firepower going down on the map. A ton of foam, but a small survival here. And now they get the knock there. They need to get this help if they want to keep him up. And now rolling in as well, trying to defend the final moments. It's down to 1 stock, and they narrowly survive. Celicious come out on top with a buzzer beater.
A buzzer beater indeed. You know, one of their stocks went down at the last minute, and unfortunately for I'm Foaming, they needed 2 of them, but that was so close. You know, I don't know what you do if you're I'm Foaming. I don't know what you do in that situation because Celicious, they just seemed on top of it. They just seemed to know exactly what they were doing. They knew to foam players who weren't the star player, just so that would be less of an opportunity for those teams to get members on your team. So it just became a stalemate at the end. And, you know, the match on paper went 7 minutes, but it could have been a 4-minute match and we would have had the same result. I think Celicious just played that perfectly at the very end.
I agree. I don't think it did them any favors for the star player selection on the side of I'm Foaming. But you know what? The cards they were dealt, they made them work. And I think bringing it down to that final moment for one last coordinated strike into the side of Celicious, they got it down to 1 stock, but it just wasn't quite enough. They're able to beat out the clock. They avoid overtime, and I think that's a big thing for them. And a 2-0 victory over a team that did really well in the upper bracket match that we saw earlier. I think this could be a really good one shaping up for the finals of our lower bracket coming up here soon too.
Yeah, and let's not forget how Celicious got knocked into the lower bracket. They lost to Komodo, the winner of the upper bracket. So if you lose to the team who's winning the upper bracket, you know that that's going to be the team that everybody is going to want to face and probably going to have to face to get through you too. So a very impressive 2-0 victory, and we're seeing the final moments here in this game. We can see one of the chills at the very end, but unfortunately, like we mentioned, they needed 2 chills, and it just time just wasn't on their side. You know, sometimes 7 minutes isn't enough, you know, but that was a crazy ending.
Very crazy ending. One of the more memorable ones that we've had so far for our Glorious Party. It's been an awesome one to kind of see all these players go against each other, showcase how good these characters can be. They're some of the best in North America going at it here, and now we're only down to 3 more teams to try and take a stab at that first place prize and to claim the championship title of being the first champion of FOAMSTARS. A very highly sought after one, and I think it's going to be a very competitive one at that. This lower brackets finals now, both of these teams have beat I'm Foaming. They were both competitive matches, they were both close, but now it is going to be a real big determiner of who can finally get some revenge on Komodo. All these teams are very familiar with each other at this point.
Yeah, and if you're hearing our broadcast earlier, FOAMSTARS, who we're about to see, took down I'm Foaming 2-1 in a very, very close game 2 and our only game 3 for the entire night so far. So that was very impressive. Let's take a look at the roster once again for FOAMSTARS. Aaron is one of the characters that we have been pointing out pretty much the entire time. A fantastic solo player, just doing such a good job staying alive. Of course, they have Dizzy, Nailed, and Risu on their team as well, rounding out a very, very solid squad.
Solid squad for sure. These guys have been super impressive. We had a nail brighter that we got to see them play in earlier. They played Komodo very well. This is somebody that we came into this tournament knowing that there was a good chance that they could make it to this grand finals and take a chance at winning it all. It's somebody that I still wouldn't rule out. Any of these 3 teams at this point would not be a surprise to me, but their opponents on the other end just showed why they deserve to be here. A very impressive victory over I'm Foaming. It's going to be Celicious here with Hoosier, Dan, Powers, and Walker here. Solid gameplay that we just saw. I'm very impressed. We know what FOAMSTARS are capable of. This one is just shaping up to have some fireworks and be a very fun way to kick us off before we finally get to the coveted grand finals.
Right, and just 3 teams are remaining. A lot of the teams here so far, they know they're getting that cash prize, but of course, you want to go for the top prize. Again, $5,000 at stake. The first prize, $3,000. Very, very exciting for these teams and these players. Of course, early on into the game, you guys can take a look here. $3,000 for the first place team, $1,000 for the second, and $500 for the third and fourth teams. And of course, we can't forget about the skins for the boards in the game. That is also very important and lovely as well. But such a lovely way to kick off this game, Kenny.
Yeah, the cosmetics can't be underestimated. It's a nice little brag when you get into the lobby and can show off what you've earned, and you're going to know on the other end that you're facing off against a pretty good player. If I see him running that, I know I am in trouble when I'm entering those ranked lobbies as well. These guys have all been conquering at that ranked gameplay and have now shown up to be some of the best teams in all of North America. And of course, $3,000, a pretty large chunk of change, especially for the first ever FOAMSTARS tournament. So everybody going to be dialing it up a notch here as we get into these final matches.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, here being the losers grand finals, it's still a best of 3. So the stakes are higher without, any other wiggle room, any other buffer room. So you got to win these games. We've only seen a lot of 2-0s. Of course, we've seen 1-2-1 with one of the teams who we're going to be seeing next, FOAMSTARS. I'm sure they're hoping that they don't be put in that situation again. I know that they really want to get this win. And of course, they want their revenge against Komodo. They want that revenge and potentially force a bracket reset.
For sure, they've run into this team now twice, whether it be in the qualifying stages or in our bracket here tonight. They're certainly a team that's capable of winning that matchup as well, one of the most impressive ones, and of course why we see them in this top 3 scenario. But some tough opponents on the other end as well. It's going to be the Celicious team versus FOAMSTARS here. 2 heavy hitters going at it for the finals of our lower bracket. It's going to be a best of 3. Doesn't look like anybody mixing it up too much compared to the compositions we've seen these two teams run earlier. Of course, one of the unique features from FOAMSTARS, they're running that Melty, which is the only team we've seen do that so far tonight.
Right, and both teams having Rave Breaker, so that's going to be a very good support. Having that hose out to get a lot of foam on the turf, be very good support for your teammates. And of course here, we've mentioned the SOAs from both teams that they're going to be running, and that's not unexpected. So of course we're going to be seeing that as well. But look at this, pretty bunched up early on is Celicious. FOAMSTARS really applying the pressure early, but if you have one of the players goes down, you're going to have to force one of your teammates to get out of position to save, and that's going to be the second strike on the side of Celicious, taking down FOAMSTARS, taking it down to 3 stocks, Kenny. So this one is going in the favor of Celicious pretty early on.
They're in hot pursuit of the final member as well there. They do manage to escape for now, but a big factor here too to keep in mind, Aaron has been a huge factor playing that SOA. You have to be a good SOA. A lot of FOAMSTAR right now is going to come down to which side SOA is playing better. So seeing that chill go down early onto Aaron, who's playing SOA for the FOAMSTARS, if it comes down to a star player versus star player scenario, they need to make sure that SOA is playing well, and with not such a hot start there, it might be a little bit tougher to secure that for Aaron if it comes down to those kinds of in-game scenarios.
Yeah, now we're taking a look at Dizzy here, who's using Melty, just staying in the back a little bit. Of course, the longest range weapon in this game, firing foam from behind mid. That's such a good idea. You're not very mobile. You need to make sure that you're protected, so you are using all the obstacles in the stage that can help you towards any advantage. And they're doing such a good job with that. And one of the stocks now going to be going down on the side of Celicious. FOAMSTARS still down by 2 stocks, but they're applying a little bit more pressure than we had seen before. But still not a ton of foam on the map for the side of Celicious, as FOAMSTARS is really turning up the heat.
Ooh, and they just got knocked off the map. I was waiting for the contact to see how far they got moved, and unfortunately for them, don't even have a chance to be chilled. They're just knocked straight off the map. Impressive gameplay there. Still 3 stock separating these two teams now. Back on Aaron's point of view here as he's trying to deal with all of the incoming foam from the other side. A little grenade going down, covering a little pink section there right next to this bottle, which has been a huge feature here. We saw Melty take advantage of this earlier for the superstar skill. Aaron charging one of those up for his own as the Emperor Penguin is inbound. They need to avoid this, and now he's being pressured. He's left all alone. A little bubble step here, trying to dodge these players, get some incoming shots as well, brings them low, and I think maybe going to be able to come out on this on top. Ooh, just barely going down alongside it. Several of his teammates here too. 5-1, major lead for Celicious in our game number 1.
Yeah, that is huge, and I know Aaron was trying to use their spiky to stay alive. They had it ready and unfortunately couldn't use it in time. That's one of those superstar skills that you need to just use to get away from all the foam that is coming towards you. But like you said, down to 1 stock, FOAMSTARS trying to make sure that they can keep avoiding having their star player come out and put themselves in a very tricky situation. And we know that Celicious is really trying to just push forward and charge forward. We can see the hose come out from the side of Celicious. That's going to be Ravebreaker once again, just applying all of the foam forward and getting a lot of foam for their teammates too. Again, just making sure that your teammates have places to serve, have places to move around is going to be very crucial in these final 3.5 minutes.
A huge pink pile of foam here as well. The blue roster being backed into their spawn side as well. Not a lot of wiggle room for them at all as they suction out all of the foam with a big super blast right there. With a little over 3 minutes on the clock, all 4 of their characters are up, but they are all very weak right now. I think the enemy side, Celicious, know this. They're trying to take advantage of this. A nice save as well, some good coordination, but they don't manage to find anything out of that. So they're going to need to reevaluate a little bit, maybe keep the pressure going, but they don't want to cost themselves too many stock.
No, and look at the foam control. Look at the map control from the side of Celicious. We can see here that's going to be someone just pushing up against the ledge on the side of FOAMSTARS. And they're doing such a good job. And I'm just amazed that nobody from the side of FOAMSTARS has gone down just yet. But the thing is, when everybody is bunched up right next to each other, they're able to revive each other. So that is finally going to be the star player that is going to be coming out. That is going to be a Guido, who we mentioned before. It might not be the best choice because you don't have a lot of room for escape. But, you know, you can't choose who your star player is going to be, so we'll see how long they can survive. But, of course, they have to get a few stocks off of Celicious first.
This is what I was mentioning earlier. Soa not getting off to a hot start didn't allow for Aaron to build up points to become that star player if it came down to it. And as a result, it's going to be a Gito. Not that Aaron's necessarily playing poorly. Maybe Snail's just popping off. But nonetheless, this is the situation they are now dealing with. And on top of that, less than 2 minutes on the clock. And they have to take away 5 whole stock. Make it 4, though, now that Mel-T ult came in. There's a little action going down as well. Some helps popping up on the screen. The blue side desperately trying to stay up here. I see a shark going down as well, trying to claim a victim here. A big dodge, but a help screaming from the top of the map. Gonna be knocked right off and not gonna be able to claim it. Now only 1 stock. What a return of fire here from the FOAMSTARS.
Yeah, they are doing such a good job coming down and back from a 5-0 deficit with just 1 stock lead. They don't have their star player, but now they do. It is going to be the Ravebreaker player that is going to be it's going to be Power who's coming out and is going to be their star player. So again, you don't have as much foam on the map now, or you will, but you have to make sure that you're not in a position that you're going to jeopardize the game if you're the Ravebreaker player, just because you don't want to get so far up close. You're going to be staying back and you're going to be using that foam as a very close defensive mechanism.
Powers as a Ravebreaker is going to be another interesting choice here for our star player on each end. I would say both of these sides are going to have a difficult journey ahead of them in this final count. Keep in mind, too, when this clock expires, if both star players remain, we will have a zone start to close in, make this battlefield a little bit tighter, more close quarters, as both sides are just for now going to be reestablishing some control, looking to get some foam down on the ground. I don't imagine we're going to get too terribly aggressive here. I think the foam control is going to be so crucial here. But for now, it's actually Snail being backed up into spawn, so I think Pink's side going to be having some serious control here.
Yeah, I think so too, but it's a matter of oh, look at the health go down from Snail! Just like that, all the way down. Are they going to get the win here? I don't know. Are they going to get it revived? Yes, they are. Their health went from 100 to 0 in a matter of like 3 seconds. That was absolutely crazy from the side of Celicious, but that is going to push us into overtime, and right now Celicious has a slight lead, but Power is losing a little bit more health. You see here Dizzy using Mel-T try and push forward and get some more foam forward, but look at this, Kenny. This is such a close game.
Back and forth right now, and Power is certainly not the healthiest in the world either. We see the Mel-T superstar skill go down as well. You see Snail trying to get out of harm's way. Walk here on our screen here, playing the Soa, and they have to be careful here. Every life counts. Even if you're not that superstar, you have to make sure that you're keeping them protected, getting those frags, and right now, they buy just enough time for Powers to regenerate all that helps Snail nearly back up to 100 as well. Somehow, some way, FOAMSTARS have put themselves in a situation where they might be able to come home with game number 1.
Yeah, they've had quite a rebound in this game. Both teams nearly at full health with their star player. And, you know, what is the game plan in this situation? With 2 minutes left, you have the stage that's going to be closing in. It's really you just gotta really try your hardest to protect your star player. And I know that's much easier said than done. That's the whole point of the game too. But at this point, you've been playing for over 7 minutes. What other tricks do you have up your sleeve?
Outside of this one mound of blue foam on the back of the map to cling on to, there's not a lot left. A lot of pink foam in front of their faces as now they're looking to make a move here. They see this giant star icon on the map. Snail taking a little bit of damage. There's a chill that they desperately needed. Celicious making their move now. Here's the star player incoming as well. They do have that superstar skill though. Here comes the spiky urchin looking to pave the way for the teammates here as Snail's HP getting lower and lower. More characters going down. A sliver of HP left. He's trying to evade the situation, but he gets saved in the final moments. A minute left on the clock. Back of their spawn, the zone closing in, and somehow they've managed to survive this onslaught.
I have no idea how Snail survived that, because there were two Celicious players who were right there trying to survive, trying to live, and just and trying to foam the enemy player. I don't know how they survived it, but Snail has always been coming back from this deficit. They're once again in a very tricky situation, losing more and more health. They might get foamed. We'll see if there's an opportunity to save, and there is again. Absolutely crazy. About 40 seconds left. This map is getting much smaller and smaller, but right now, Power is not showing any sign of stopping. But no, the party is going to be over, and the victory is going to be going to Celicious. What a crazy ending here for Game 1.
Absolute roller coaster in game number 1. I didn't know who was going to come away with it. Just when you thought FOAMSTARS were out of it, they nearly clawed their way out of that deficit to come out on top. A couple good chance time saves there as well, kept them in it to the final moment. At the end of the day, though, it is going to be Powers as the MVP for that game on Radiant Rhythms Gardens here. Look at all the stats piling up. Makes sense why they were a star player there. At the end, might have made it a little bit easier to patch the stats there, but nonetheless, clearly a big reason why they ended up winning that. But I can't rule out FOAMSTARS after that performance. That was an absolute insane way to nearly come back. They've been in several clutch time situations, and they have certainly delivered here tonight.
Oh, they certainly have. I think, too, you know, sometimes the match doesn't officially start until we have both star players out, and that was the case of today, or for this game. You know, we could see that Celicious, they did have the early lead, like right here. They have a 5-1 stock, a 5-star player stock, but of course the battle doesn't end until that star player is down, and sometimes that can just take so much longer than you expect it to, especially when you have good teammates who are reviving you so much, just like the side of FOAMSTARS. I don't know how many total revives and saves there were, but man, there were so many opportunities for those revives, and I think the FOAMSTARS players, they were just on top of it every single time.
Yeah, it was at least 2 to 3, right? We've seen 3 already pop up on our screen as Snail takes to the skies, and somehow the teammates make the call out to keep him up, get that chance time, and keep him alive before going down to that chill factor. What a way to draw out that game number 1. What looked so bleak for the FOAMSTARS turned out to be a super entertaining game, and that's just game number 1. They are still down right now, an opportunity to try and come back here in the next one. But for now, it's going to be Celicious who squeezed by with a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, and of course, remember, this is a best of 3 in our losers finals, so it is win or go home for I'm Foaming. They've really got to get this win, and from what we've seen, they're capable of it, Kenny. They are capable of getting that win. They've come from so many deficits too. They've had opportunities where there were many stocks down and survived, and it really comes down to who is that star player and how well you're able to support them, and just being aware of their positioning too. So they are in it to win it. I'm not counting them out anytime soon.
Agreed. I mean, honestly, all things considered, we've seen Soa be the most successful star player so far tonight, but Agito made it work there. It really wasn't too shabby. The fact that they were able to draw that out after being down to 5 stocks with their star player already active, managed to get it into that overtime scenario, narrowly dodging several earlier losses in that game. I'm believing in them for sure. I think a big change up here, if we can see Aaron get a pop-off before that star player potential, I think that's a big factor. The Soa players tonight, we're putting a ton of pressure on them, but it's just an important character in the sense that we've seen it statistically just be the most successful star player. Not that Agito's not capable, not that these other characters aren't, but at least in terms of what we've seen in this early meta forming in FOAMSTARS, that is the way to go. So I'm keeping my eye on Aaron, who's been phenomenal all night long. If they can somehow get him to pop off here early, maybe not to get it taken down as much early on, I think they could be a little more successful than they possibly were last time.
Yeah, I certainly agree. Now we're going to be going to Octocross Adventures again. This is one of the stages that has a little bit more leverage and elevation to kind of protect yourself too just a little bit. So they're going to be using that towards the advantage. Celicious is going to be rushing forward a little bit here, trying to get some control of mid, but FOAMSTARS doing the exact same thing just on the other side. So a lot of it is a fight for some elevation, and that's exactly what we see here as Celicious members are trying to survive here, getting foamed, but right now no stocks are down quite yet. There's going to be a chance time for one of the members of Celicious to get a stock advantage, and they do, so they are able to strike on early first.
Pink roster with a 1 lead here in terms of stock. The fight for height continuing here. We see about half health on the enemy blue side character there as the pink roster looks to group up together once again. Celicious trying to claim this mid control by this fountain. The more area they have for themselves, the easier it is to travel across the map on that surfboard like we're seeing here. And of course, the more that you can pile up, just like you see here as well, the higher heights you can climb, the easier shots you can land below. It's a lot easier looking down than it is looking at a guy on high ground.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, you want to foam up as high as you can because the other team has to get that foam down, and they're going to be trying really hard to do so. There is a chance time once again for Celicious to get that chill, and it looks like they are going to be saved from the side of FOAMSTARS. They're not going to go down a stock quite yet, but now they do. But there is an opportunity to get one more, and it looks like they are going to be saved. So right now, Celicious in that player advantage that we had seen before during Game 1. But of course, FOAMSTARS really still in it. We can see some of the pushes from Mel T trying to get some nice picks there, and now Celicious is going to be going down a stock right now. We see the thank you that is given to give the nice revive. I love the emotes that you can do in this game to give credit and give kudos to some of your teammates, but we are tied now at a 5-5 with 5 minutes remaining.
Nothing like some good positive reinforcement here as we get a tie up here as well. Nice little celebration as he gets saved once again. Aaron hasn't gone down quite yet. Going to be in a positive situation here, and again, the better Soa can do, the more likely they get star player, the more successful your team is likely going to be. But rather than frag out, it seems like these teams are really trying to get control of the map, and I love this. It's a little bit different and more dynamic than other games that we've seen. They're looking for height, they're looking to pile up foam, they're looking to destroy enemies' foam. The more you can do that, the easier you can make it on yourselves as the game progresses. Love seeing a little change up here in this game.
Yeah, certainly. We don't have that same stalemate that we had in the later half of that first game that we saw, but we do have, we're seeing a little bit more aggression from the side of FOAMSTARS too, which we love to see. You know, it's tied on paper right now, but you can tell FOAMSTARS is feeling much better about themselves during this game from Game 1. Of course, we're going to have to avoid the penguin that comes out. And well, here's an opportunity to strike, and it looks like they don't quite get the chill just yet, but we are going to see Soa come out with a spike ball and rushing forward and trying to save their teammate, but at the same time trying to chill some of their opponents, and it looks like 2 are going to be going down on the side of FOAMSTARS. So Celicious in a much better position right now. That's 2, that's 1 alive. So Kenny, what just happened there in the last 20 seconds?
Yeah, a little bang-bang play there off the wall, ricochets, and just goes down, an entire team being wiped. And it looked like FOAMSTARS were trying to get a little aggressive. I think it was because the Celicious side was moving forward, pushing them back. You can see it here. So much foam control for Celicious. This is a huge factor. The mid entirely covered in pink. This entire left-hand side that we're seeing from Soa's screen, all in pink as well. And look at this. They're aiming straight down. That's to build up a mound of foam, to elevate the foam, so they have an easier way to get to that high ground. I think that's going to be important here, and it's something that Melty, a character that relies on that, is going to need, and unfortunately something they just don't have on the side of FOAMSTARS.
Yeah, they don't quite have it just yet, but you know, this is the same situation now that we were in a Game 1 with kind of having that 5-1 stock advantage. I think what's going to be really crucial is who is going to be that star player if FOAMSTARS does go down to 1 stock. And you know, before it was Agito, not necessarily a player that we don't think you want as your first choice just because of how powerful they are. You know, maybe a Soa situation like you were mentioning, how they tend to be the ones who survive the longest, but of course you don't want to do worse. You always want to do your best, so you don't want to kind of throw to make sure your teammate's going to be a star player. You want to make sure that you are always bringing your A game, and I think Celicious right now, they definitely are, because there is a lot of pink foam here on the map.
It's definitely a tough thing to juggle. At the end of the day, you're never going to fault any of these guys for trying to be the best performer on the map. If anything, it's going to help lead to victories in the long term, but this could be detrimental for their side. I believe they get that chance time and keep that player up. So for now, still going to be remaining with 1 stock. A nice save there, but down to the star player. player. This time it is Aaron, though. He was much more active here in our early game, but nonetheless, a difficult task ahead of these fellas. It's going to be 4 stock now, a little bit better, but it's still star player versus 4 stock, and with 2 minutes to go, Aaron and his teammates are going to have to find a way to drain them of all of those lives.
Right, and if it's anything like we've seen in the previous games, you know, FOAMSTARS shouldn't have any problem dwindling down that stock on the side of Celicious. Now, it might not be in the next 15 seconds or so, but it will take a little bit of time. But they're hoping that they can do that in the next minute and 30 seconds, because that's all the time that they have. So we can see some different strategies coming out from the side of Celicious potentially, but look at this. A lot of action. That's going to be 2 chills and a 3 stock now from the side of Celicious. So just 3 more before Celicious has his star player come out. But remember, you definitely want to keep track of that time. If your star player is not out and the enemy team star player is when that clock hits 0, you're going to be winning the game. Your strategy might be changing here in the last minute.
A minute on the clock. 3 stocks still available for Celicious here. And FOAMSTARS need to get active on this map. A pivotal save just happened on our screen there a few moments ago. Aaron was pursuing it, getting the tags necessary with those dual pistols, but not quite enough to get the save. They escape, and now they're going to need one final coordinated attack here in order to try and drain them of these 3 stock on the Celicious side.
Yeah, that is a major uphill battle that you're going to try and do, because you just don't have a lot of wiggle room, you know, and Celicious, they know what the objective is. They know that we don't necessarily need to go for the star player. We just don't want to put ourselves in a position that we have a star player brought out ourselves. Now, of course, if we can take out the star player from the other team, that's going to be great, but it looks like Aaron is doing such a good job just surviving. They're taking damage. It's not much damage, and, you know, being a SOA, they're able to get out of very sticky situations more quickly, and we're going to see the spike ball come out in the last 5 seconds. That's huge, because you're not going to get foamed if you do that, and that's going to be the game. So Celicious surviving, not bringing out their star player, no need to go into overtime. They are going to be winning your losers final and be moving on to the grand finals.
A clean victory there in game number 2. Celicious proving they are worth a grand finals attempt. Great performance, a great night overall with several excellent matches of entertainment coming in from the FOAMSTARS. But for now, it is going to be Powers and their teammates pressing forward, moving on, and I think this grand finals is shaping up to be something special for our Glorious Party.
I certainly agree. Celicious moving on, like we said, winning the losers bracket. They're going to be facing a Komodo team who they've been waiting around for quite some quite some time. Their most recent victory was against FOAMSTARS, who we saw prior to this, who we just faced here. But it's man, such a good win, and I think they played it perfectly in Game 3. You know, they knew that they just didn't want to have any of their players go down. We're not going to try anything fancy here. We don't need to put all of our pressure on the star player, which is why we never saw Aaron take that much damage the entire time, especially as time went down. You know, we can see players from Celicious firing some foam, but they're not going to put themselves in danger, so it becomes a different game in the last minute, just given their different situations.
For sure, really impressive the way that they were able to orchestrate that. They didn't get overly aggressive. They kind of found that happy medium, right? You can't go completely off and just back up and turtle in your spawn. Otherwise, the other team's just going to overrun you, especially if they charge up those superstar skills. It's a balancing act. You have to know when to get aggressive and know when to hold back. I agree with you. I think that is the reason we probably didn't see SOA take that much damage. They weren't focused on SOA. They were just trying to defend themselves. Anybody coming at them, they take out the people that don't necessarily have as many health points. They're in their regular form, and they're able to just clean it up at the end game there with about 20 seconds. You saw that SOA, Aaron, all by themselves. Not a lot they could do in that situation. They would have had to pick off 3 different characters if they wanted to drag that into overtime, and that's a lot to ask of anybody. So excellent opportunity there, and Celicious really proving themselves, and I think an excellent performance overall.
Yeah, certainly. And like we mentioned, they are going to be facing Komodo in our grand finals. Of course, Komodo's been waiting around for a little bit. Celicious eager to get their hands on them. Before we go into grand finals, though, it's going to be so fun. It's going to be a best of 5 too. So the stakes are, a little more wiggle room. It's going to be a little, it's going to be a little less sweaty for some of these teams too. Might have some time to kind of decipher and breathe and relax a little bit, but still, Celicious hoping that they can get that to win the bracket reset, but Komodo they want to end the night on a victory.
Well, the stage is set. Our grand finals has been determined. Before we get there, though, we are going to jump to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Our grand finals are on the way.
PlayStation.
Gaming is defined by moments.
It is intense.
The joy of victory and the thrill of overcoming challenges. Welcome to our home of competitive gaming, where we can all experience exciting esports moments.
The final 1v1 of the game here.
And celebrate the pros and the rising stars.
I do want to see a female in the NCS.
Bringing you guides and deep dives.
Horizon can go up, but she can't go up fast.
And tournaments where the community competes.
Wait! Did he get? No way!
Whether you're in a heated match,
Back, let's go.
or watching along at the edge of your seat.
A duo taking down a trio.
Let's create moments from the games you love.
They'll take it.
Join us and subscribe to our channel to follow everything esports on PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Enlist in the galaxy's elite fighting force. Work together to protect your future. Join the Hellbenders, the galaxy's last line of offense.
PlayStation.
Slipped away. We were there for a moment. There for a moment. There for a moment. Slipped away. 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 You were there for a moment. Slipped away. 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 You were there for a moment. That slipped away. We could be dreaming. We could be dreaming. Maybe we're dreaming. We could be 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 dreaming.
We ain't waiting no more. We got places to go. We gon' have a good time. We gon' have a good time. So we shut down the scene. Yeah, you know what I mean. We gon' have a good time. We gon' have a good time.
Welcome back, Foam Fighters, for the grand finals of the Glorious Party. After a long wait, an epic bracket, we are finally here. I am Kenny, and joined with me, Falco. It's going to be an awesome conclusion to our night. No more best of three situations. It's on to the best of fives. This is where the big boys come out and compete for the first ever grand finals victory in FOAMSTARS.
Yes, and of course we're having Komodo versus Celicious. These two teams faced off in the semifinals with Komodo getting a 2-0 victory. Celicious had an amazing losers bracket run, winning against some of the teams along the way in just incredible fashion, and they deserve a spot here in our grand finals.
Both of these teams have been excellent on the night. It's been awesome to see unfold. Even starting off our day, I might add, some of these teams like Komodo impressing us immediately, moving forward as well, getting a victory 2-0. Might I add, over Celicious, a little familiarity from between these two teams. Both of them, of course, getting victories of FOAMSTARS to get here. Komodo doing so 2-0 in the upper bracket. Celicious getting knocked down to that lower bracket, catching a victory over FOAMSTARS, a fierce team who placed third in our event here today, getting a chunk of change along with it. But Celicious and Komodo will be rematching here. Do you foresee it going any differently?
You know, it really depends, because that's not a matchup that we were able to see on stream. So it's really hard to tell, but based on how close some of the Komodo games were earlier that we saw, and how some of the Celicious matches were too, I think it could be very close. But remember, Celicious, they have to win 2 sets if they want to win. Let's take a look at the roster for Komodo. We haven't seen them in quite some time here, but we have Cody, ICL, Endo, and Reborn. They have just been fantastic to watch. Their first game that we saw of a broadcast featuring Komodo, and they had a very dominant 7-0 victory.
We've seen them a couple times on the broadcast here tonight. They've caught 3 victories so far, but like you mentioned, an important thing to note too, they've had a little bit of a break. They are rewarded by a waiting game. They could sit down, chill out, watch the competition, because they'd already made it to the upper bracket grand finals. Seeing the other end, they can scout the competition, what they want to do, strategize a little bit. But overall, there is a little bit of a waiting period there. Sometimes that can impact players, but overall, I think I would have it their way, where, like you mentioned, they get an extra life, because this is our double elimination format. So Celicious going to have to do the unthinkable and not just win 1 best of 5, but win 2 if they want to be grand finals champions.
Yeah, Celicious kind of having the opposite path that Komodo had, where they have to make this incredible losers run. But if you play sports, if you've done this before, 1 game at a time. That's all you got to focus on. 1 game at a time. They know they have to win 2 sets if they want to win this entire thing, but it really comes down to just the first game to get you 1 step closer to that final prize.
And of course, Celicious going down 2-0 to this team earlier. It's something you just have to put by the wayside, put in the back of your mind. You live and you learn, and that's exactly how esports work as well, and how it works here in our Glorious Party. We'll see if they're equipped to take down Komodo this time. It's going to be a best of 5, and we're already gearing up to jump into the action for our grand finals. 2 epic teams that have gone through qualifiers. They've beaten some of the best in North America just to get here today, and now they've proven themselves to be the top 2 teams. Komodo versus Celicious, grand finals matchup. Going to be taking a look here at the compositions. Nothing too crazy. All familiar for what these 2 teams have done here tonight. SOAs on both sides. A perfect record so far here, Falco, for each end. No SOA has missed out on any fight.
No, not at all, and I love to see the Baristador come back out on the side of Komodo. You know, that's not a character we see very often, but we have seen players from Komodo use him before. And of course, he has that long hose, a lot of foam that can get all over the map. Not very lethal, but is a fantastic support weapon. And look at all these bubbles coming out from Celicious's Solo and some of their other players as well. So it is just a fight for mid right now, and that's why we see a lot of Komodo players just pushing over to the enemy side first and try and get some good flanks.
A couple great interactions right at the beginning of our game. They immediately identify height. That is something that the Baristador benefits off of well. It's a long-range hose. They're going to be looking to rain it down. But on the other end, they drop a grenade on that spot instantly. The section that bottle goes up in the air, they immediately identify that and get him off that point of interest. And now a big fight going down as well. It's going to be Komodo taking advantage here early. A couple frags going out now. 2 chills for the enemy end, and they don't manage to get all of them. A nice save there at the end, but nonetheless, a 7-5 lead, and a very important one, as now they're piling up a couple extra bodies here. That's a team wipe! Early onset here from Komodo, and a huge advantage now in game number 1.
Yeah, a team wipe is huge because that gives you all the time to just paint or to just foam all over the floor, get foam everywhere and push up too. So that is absolutely crucial, and that's huge for Komodo as Celicious is going to try and find a way to rebound. And we can see the Baristador player, that's going to be Endo, who's just waiting on the top here, is just going to be foaming everywhere on the ground. That is going to be towards Celicious' side, and they're going to be really rallying up to try and get some of these chance times in foams and just really cause a lot of damage. That's going to be 2. That's going to be 1 for Celicious right now. So a 7-1, just one more player until a star player is going to be coming out. But we have a few chance times, and the star player is going to be coming out, and that is going to be the Penguin player.
So Penguin going to be the star player here, which is interesting to me because I don't feel like this is the worst. It's a medium-range character, not necessarily the most mobile, but I do think kind of has that versatility in the sense that doesn't have to be up close in your face, can kind of keep the distance, but still be on the offensive prowl as well. For now, though, they just need to worry about getting stock, just cracking that 5-minute marker. We're only a couple minutes into this, and Dan already receiving some heavy fire. He's going to need to try and keep himself up here if they want any chance of dragging this game number 1 out.
Yeah, and it's so right now not looking very good for them as a lot of the players on Celicious are getting foamed and getting chilled. So I don't think there's a lot of room for Dan to stay alive right now as a lot more damage is coming their way. A lot of their teammates needing help. Dan now needs help himself, but it looks like he's going to be going down, and Komodo is going to be taking game 1 in this best of 5 grand finals.
A swift victory here, and I think they answered our question. The waiting time wasn't a problem. They came out dominant in game number 1. So impressive here. And one thing that caught my eye too was just how they used the maneuvering objects on this map. You're going to see it from this kind of zoomed out view, the eagle eye. You see that ball rolling, which we've mentioned a few times tonight, to clear foam out. You see the point of interest in the middle of the map that jets you up to the top there. They were able to set up Baristador there, get that long hose out, and really just able to traverse their way across that map in difficult situations and come out swinging 7-0. They didn't even drop a stock. That's impressive stuff, to say the least, in a grand final situation.
Yeah, certainly. And like you said, the waiting didn't seem to bother them at all. Here we can see Baristador just waiting in mid. A few of the players are going to be going down on the side of Celicious. Here is when there was 1 stock left before the star player is going to be coming out. But like you said, utilizing all of the obstacles on the map towards your advantage. Each stage is different, and they present new and different opportunities. And I think here, Dan just unfortunately had no support from their teammates because Komodo, they were just on top of chilling all of the members from Celicious, and there was no opportunity for them to be revived.
I can tell you're an optimist. You use the word opportunity instead of challenges. I like that. I like that. It's an opportunity to take advantage of, not a challenge to deal with. And when you win 7-0, it's clearly they had the same mindset as well. Excellent stuff coming out here from Komodo. They were able to just take advantage of what was in front of them, and they really didn't waver at all. Not too many opportunities for the enemy side to take advantage, to take a lead. It was just pedal to the metal the whole way through. So Komodo proving that this could be a repeat if they're not careful of what we saw from these two teams earlier tonight, where it was a sweep as well.
Yeah, and of course, we didn't see how that one went. We were casting the other game, but, you know, a 2-0 on paper is very different than how a 2-0 might play out. So, for all we know, that game could have gone much longer, could have had the 10-minute game, but certainly this game was not a 10-minute game. This one, Komodo showed up to play, and like we mentioned, not even dropping a stock, and it was a very different pace from what we had seen in our losers finals and losers semis leading up to this, and Komodo, they're not rusty at all. They are ready to go.
No, they definitely were moving with the joystick there. They were using their PlayStation controllers off screen. Otherwise, if they just showed up and played that way after a small break, I'd be really impressed. Gotta think they were warming up, constantly moving, constantly watching, but nonetheless, really impressive. Clearly, the cooldown period did not impact them whatsoever. We talked about this a little bit earlier. This is a grand final setting. This is really impactful. They still have yet to take a set for Celicious. They haven't claimed one against this team yet. You gotta put it behind you one game at a time. It's only 1-0 at the end of the day, this isn't necessarily sending them off to the grave. They have not been ruled out quite yet, but they got to get some momentum going for themselves. And sometimes that only takes 1 to 2 stocks, so I'd love to see them early out here, not necessarily get controlled as easily. Look for that foam control, maybe a pick off or two, play together. Those comms got to be perfect. By the end of the day, they just can't get throttled right off the rip.
Yeah, and I think too, and we saw it, but Celicious, there weren't many opportunities that they had a lot of their players who were alive. A lot of them were respawning when they had opportunities to try and save Dan, but unfortunately that just didn't happen. But, you know, thankfully for Celicious, they do have an extra game as a buffer. This is a best of 5 rather than a best of 3, but again, you're facing a Komodo team who hasn't dropped a single game at all yet this entire tournament. So, you know, they're hoping to be the first team to do so. They will have to do that if they want to win, but it's hard to take away anything from a game that turns into a 7-0 and your star player doesn't last a whole long time.
Yeah, Komodo have certainly earned the right to be the favorites in this situation, not just because of the matchup these two teams had earlier where Komodo came out on top, but also because they're the ones in the upper bracket. They've got 2 lives. Even if they somehow fumble this first one, it's okay. They get a second chance at grace. Obviously, momentum comes into factor there, but for now, at least a 1-0 lead for the favorites in Komodo in our first ever tournament here. Getting ready to go for game number 2 as well. I'm sure there's going to be a little deliberation. If you're on the side of Komodo, you're probably not changing too much up. There's probably not a lot to talk about. That was as good as it gets. But again, the mental factor is big across the board in esports and sports, and FOAMSTARS is going to be no different.
Yeah, and I can't imagine Komodo's really going to be changing much of their comp. What has worked for them has worked for them the entire tournament so far. You know, they just have to be aware if Celicious changes anything, they might have to adapt and change some of their play style, but from what we have seen from them, not many opportunities really made them struggle. You know, we saw them against Let's Cook, and that game 2 was a little more dicey, but again, they're just showing the dominant fashion that we have typically seen here in this grand finals, and for them, it's only 2 more games until they walk away victorious, and Celicious, they're hoping that they can at least just make that a little bit more difficult for Komodo.
Yeah, Celicious certainly capable of that as well, I think. We've seen them be very impressive here tonight. Celicious, though, are going to have another opportunity and going to try and take the first game off of Komodo here in game number 2 of our grand finals. Komodo going to be looking to hold on for dear life. Like you mentioned, only 2 games away from being crowned the first ever FOAMSTARS champions. Going to be taking a peek here to see if anybody has changed up the composition. Doesn't look like this end has done anything differently, and it looks like both sides just gonna be re-rolling what we just saw. Can't blame them. You gotta do what's comfortable, and of course, if you're Komodo, you're not looking to change anything up. That was darn near perfect.
Yeah, exactly. We see Restore on the side of Komodo, but then we also see that's going to be Ravebreaker on the side of Celicious, being the support players that are really going to be paving the way for some of the players to get some of these chills. So that's going to be how they start off strong. But look at this, some of the skills coming out. Oh, that's going to be Dan taking some damage pretty early on. Going to be having to back away just a little bit to revive themselves a little bit. But I don't know if they're going to stay alive. They are very low on HP, but we already have a 6v6 stock. So this is already looking a little better for Celicious just about 20 seconds into the game. But of course, this is definitely a brawl that we see here at the beginning of the match, but Komodo is still holding on strong with a 1-stock advantage right now.
A strong response, and several low HP characters are looking for the follow-throughs as well. You see the chance exclamation on the screen, and a couple more bodies pile up here and get chilled out for now. Look at this, 3 chills already for Walker. That is super impressive as well. And now down to their final straw already. They get all of those chills, 3 piled up for an individual player as well, and they claim another one. 6-1. It's nice to take a stock, but didn't necessarily want to see him go down 5 here either.
No, and that stock was so early on that gave Komodo such an opportunity to get so much foam on the map. That's why it looked blue that the entire, 20 seconds whenever Celicious weren't on the map. But right now, Komodo's still looking for that final stock before the star player is going to be coming out. They have a few opportunities now, and it is going to be the star player. It's going to be Tonix. It's going to be Hoosier, who is going to be the star player as they are trying to take them down, taking down some of the other members, but another stock is taken down on the side of Komodo. So Celicious still in it, slowly chipping away. That's going to be 4. So a very different situation than we saw here from game 1. Hoosier still at most of their health. We are going to see the SOA run out of their spiky, getting that 7 chills, chilling a lot of the teammates on the side of Celicious, and this is going to be very hard for them to survive.
That's some serious fragging right there. And this is the best, granted, it is still 4 stock. That is a major, major lead. But it is still the best that we've seen. And like I've said, sometimes momentum's important. They just got to see themselves get 1 to 2 stock and understand that they are capable of dealing with this. For now, though, Hoosier is the point of emphasis for both teams. They have to keep this star player up. And the fact that it's a Tonix does make things a little more tricky.
Yeah, it certainly does. You know, it's not the SOA that we had seen before, but it's also not quite the Agato that we had seen as well. So it's, you know, kind of in that middle ground of a character that maybe it's not, again, not your first choice, but also not the worst choice to have as your star player. But look at this. Komodo now down to 2 stocks before the star player comes out, as a lot more pink foam is being thrown on the map from the side of Celicious. They're doing such a good job, and Hoosier still at full health, doing a fantastic job. We can see Baristor here trying to recharge some of the foam, getting in a position to get into mid, and then foam from up higher and trying to stay alive as well, and just trying to cover the map to help support their teammates. But they are backing up Hoosier, and I don't know if Komodo's really had an opportunity to push towards the star player. It's really been Baristor who's been leading the way and trying to throw some foam that way.
And a couple pink players on the other end. They're trying to stay up, but this is getting serious now. Hoosier receiving some heavy fire, needs to hold on. He is the last player that has to stay up. If anything comes down to the wire here, Hoosier is the man that needs to stay up for now. They're backing up. They do have some assistance as well, but they have to focus on this SOA on the left-hand end. And now they're popping their superstar skill as well. Going to be rolling towards the enemy side. More damage being output onto Hoosier here. You can see the giant star on the screen, and now a penguin, an emperor penguin at that, looking for the assist as well. A direct connection there will dish out some serious damage, launches into the sky, and the party's over. It's a slap in the face here. A much better performance, but nonetheless the same result. It's going to be a 2-0 lead now for Komodo.
Yeah, that was a very impressive spiky ball there for ICL, because you were just able to corner Hoosier, who had nowhere to go, and you're chasing them down with this ball. And of course, the spike ball has an explosion at the very end. A well-deserved MVP there from ICL, getting the win and foaming the star player on the side of Celicious. So that was an impressive win, but of course, Komodo, it was not as glorious as we saw in game 1, but definitely a textbook play from them. And I think once they realized that they didn't have many stocks at their disposal, they really turned up the heat and were able to pincer in on the star player. And yeah, unfortunately for Hoosier, they just had nowhere to go.
A telling sign of how good this team is. You saw those in-game stats there. Sometimes you see one particular character kind of run away with it. You're going to see that MVP lead the way in several categories. Not for Komodo. You saw several characters pop up there in those given categories. Foam distributed, chills, things like that. Everybody was contributing. Everybody was doing their role and job very well. You saw Baristador. He wasn't up in the faces of the enemies. He was staying back, taking advantage of being on that fountain and just raining down foam to help the people that are fragging out in front of him and his team. And these final moments right here, you see the Emperor Penguin go down, you see the chills piling up, and the final one that counts is going to be the one on that star player. Just an overall solid team performance here for Komodo, who are now on match point.
Yeah, you know, what was really hard for Hoosiers, there's nobody there who was able to survive, to help revive and prevent the chill. You had 2 members on the side of Komodo who were just ready to strike. And speaking of striking, Komodo's ready to strike in game 3, and I think they're ready to walk away with this victory. And we know that they're very hungry for it. But Celicious, they had an impressive turnaround from game 1. You know, you go from having a 0 stock game to getting quite a few stocks off of Komodo. And, you know, unfortunately, you haven't revealed Komodo's star player quite yet, but you're getting closer and closer. And there's something about that. And there's more to take away from this game than game 1 on the side of Celicious. And I think that's what's very important.
Agreed. I think for Celicious, you see yourself with a much better performance there in that game number 2, and you don't rule yourself out quite yet. What they have to do in front of them, though, is going to be absolutely insane. Keep in mind, too, the double elimination format. So this Komodo team has 2 lives, but let's just start one game at a time. At a bare minimum, they need a reverse sweep here to keep this thing going. Again, Komodo have not lost sets tonight. They are still prevailing time and time again. They've had some close calls, but there really hasn't been a big moment here where we've looked at Komodo and said, man, they just might lose. It's felt like they've had an advantage throughout every single game. So these early game moments, Celicious with a much better job there. But then they get one frag, things get immediately out of hand. Those chills pile up, and before you know it, they're already down to 6-1. So again, improvement, but we're going to have to see a major one here in game number 3 for them to keep their tournament hopes alive.
Yeah, it really did seem to foam ball out of control, if you will, towards the end of that game 2, where we had a 6 stock on both teams, but then one by one, Celicious were just kept going down. And again, it's so hard when you don't have your teammates to revive you at all. You just gotta make sure that you are working together. But if nobody is around you to save you, then that's going to be huge to lose a stock. And you know, I think Komodo, they've been doing such a good job working as a unit this entire time. You know, we've seen some of their players step back when they need to, like the Breestor, who's just able to hang out in mid. We've seen Reborn on Pennygwyn, who's giving the space that needs to be given, not necessarily being pushed into the fight. So they're all aware of each other's positions, and I think that's why they're doing as well as they have been doing so far this tournament.
That's a great way to put it. The awareness is something that has made Komodo special. This team clearly knows what they're doing. The comms, whatever it is, the practice that they put in, it's all paying off because they are in a situation where they are primed to take home our first ever glorious party here for FOAMSTARS. A phenomenal performance of that too, and just that awareness, the understanding of what all of these members are supposed to do on the team. They all have different roles, and again, it goes back to that stat category. You saw it in game number 2. They all led different categories. That's really impressive, and not a lot of teams are capable of. Certainly me on that ranked ladder, I'm not doing the best in every category, maybe not showing up for one of them, but these guys are more than capable of that. Game number 3 officially underway here. Let's get a peek, see if anything's changed up here. If you're Komodo, don't know if you need to change much. On the other end, you might contemplate a little bit, but at the end of the day, you just got to stay comfortable. You've made it this far into the grand finals. You're one of the top teams in North America. You're here for a reason, and ultimately, it's going to be a small change-up, I believe. I believe we see a duplicate barista door, so one on each end. So they're going to be trying a little something different here to try and mix up their game number 3.
Yeah, that barista door and Ravebreaker combination, that to me is intriguing because both characters play very similarly. The Ravebreaker player is going to have a little bit more lethal foam, whereas Barista Door is going to have a little bit more range, but it's still going to be very support heavy. So I think they're going to rely on getting that quick foam out early for them to get a victory.
Well said there. Couple different switch-ups here to see how it pays off as well. 6-6 now on the tally. 1 stock apiece, and once again, we're going to see Barista Door take off to the sky. He's going to be jumping up. Goon managed to get connected by that, though. A few bubbles as well. Super low health. He has to dip immediately. You can see it on the screen. Down to that final little bit. They managed to pile up another one here. He does see a shot, though, and taking the opportunity to get a follow-up. Believes that he can stay alive, so the Barista Door going to be backing off here, and already a lot of action unfolding for our first minute, as it's actually going to be a small advantage for Celicious.
Yeah, this is going to be the first time they're leading this entire series right now, 5-4, not by much, but a lead nonetheless. So 6 minutes remaining here. Celicious in a different type of position than we had seen before. Maybe this double heavy foam comp is going to be paying off just a little bit. But Komodo, they know what they're up against right now. They haven't had this player, they haven't had the stock disadvantage quite yet. So they're going to be playing a little bit more aggressively, I would assume, here, as they are trying to pincer in on Celicious. We see a few of them bunched up here onto this right side up here on the ramp. And Komodo is charging in. It looks like it's double the foam, but Celicious is not shy and waiting for them to try and just foam down as well. But there's an opportunity for help, and it looks like they are going to be saved once again. So stocks aren't going to be changing, but we do see a lot of chance opportunities for the side of Celicious and on the side of Komodo.
And they've reestablished control of that lane as well. This is an interesting way to kind of roll across the map as well. A unique way to take some height here from Hoosier. Love seeing that. These are the little things that we don't notice, but the best of the best are going to be able to call those things out. They're expanding the lead a little further now too. 5-3. A couple stock in their favor. A beautiful connection though as well, and a few superstar skills going down on the map. But ultimately, it's paving the way for Celicious to take a lead. They're now only one stock away from getting Komodo down to their first star player of this match.
Yeah, this is a very impressive turnaround for Celicious, getting Komodo down to 1 stock. Celicious did go down 1 stock themselves, now sitting at 4, but this is a different game than what we had seen in the first 2 games, and of course putting Komodo in a position that they might not be very comfortable with, especially in this tournament today. We're going to take a look here at Dan and now at Waker here, who's trying to push forward here with Soa, using some of these skills, and they do have the spiky bubble online, and it looks like they are going to be getting a nice save here, still at a 4-1 advantage. Celicious waiting to hold on here, and with 4 minutes remaining, the door is still wide open for Komodo. You know, we've seen crazier things happen so far, and I think when you don't have a star player who's out just yet, this is still a very even match.
Celicious keeping their tournament hopes more than alive right now, and so a big part of it as well, of course, being in the team name. They're able to walk away here with still a 3-stock lead from that engagement. They need to be careful though, and now a superstar skill being popped. We'll see how they elect to use this. It looks like they're going to be trying to frag, but they lose a member in the process. A nice tag there. They're going to be trying to get that final connection that they need. I see several help me's on the screen though for the pink side. They might be losing more members as well. There's a couple piling up, and a third one might be here too. A slap on the surfboard. It was 1-1, but now a star player all of a sudden being revealed for Celicious. Komodo with some clutch gameplay here to now take the lead.
Yeah, coming back from that stock deficit, they are back in the lead. The star player is going to be out. It is going to be the Rave Breaker player. That is going to be Power, who, again, you have a lot of foam at your disposal, but not a lot of lethal foam, which is going to be crazy. And the star player is going to be out on the side of Komodo now. That is going to be Cody. Cody is going to be out as Agato here, who, again, we mentioned Agato, not necessarily the strongest star player that you could choose, so no Soas as our star player, but this is a very even match, 2:30 remaining. We are virtually tied up here, Kenny.
Wow, we'll see how both teams elect to play this out. Keep in mind, if both star players survive as this clock expires, we go into an overtime situation. They can elect to get aggressive, they can elect to try and make a move for that star player, but foam control is going to be everything in these situations. Cody and Power going to have to work very well with their teammate to establish control and not get pinned in the back of their spawn in these final modes. We've seen quite a few knock off the map here tonight. There's no room for saving in those scenarios.
Yeah, not at all. And these star players are doing such a good job staying alive. We're taking a look at this door on the side of Celicious here, who's just trying to clear some area in mid that can allow Celicious to just be more aggressive against Komodo. But look at this, a lot of health going down on the side of Power, on the side of Celicious. Even more members from Komodo are pushing forward, pushing in onto Celicious. Power doing everything they can to survive. A lot of opportunities to survive in foam. Some of these players are happening, but Cody's also taking some damage themselves too. So with a minute 20 remaining, Power's going to be taking more damage. It looks like they almost might be chilled here. We will see. There is a chance time to get another player, and it looks like they are going to be getting down. Look at this. Cody's also losing some health. Power's going to be down. They do have an opportunity to get this win. Will they get them in time? And yes, they do. Komodo are your winners of the FOAMSTARS Glorious Party here, winning all the way without dropping a single game.
Impressive stuff, to say the least. Komodo, the first champions of FOAMSTARS. It's a title only one team is going to have, and they showcased themselves all night long, even when they were down and seemingly out for the count in games like game number 3. They somehow persevere and end up winning. The player awards going out as well. Several characters lighting up the leaderboards as well. It was a 3-0. It started off slow for Celicious, but nonetheless, they put on some fireworks there in game number 3. Great plays to both teams, but at the end of the day, it is going to be Komodo who are crowned champions.
Oh, Celicious got closer and closer each game that played Kenny. You know, game 1 definitely wasn't in their favor. Game 2 had opportunities where they did have the lead. In game 3, they had a strong lead and were on such an uphill climb and were doing so well, but unfortunately for them, it just didn't work out. Here are the replays in the last 3 minutes and 20 seconds of the game. We see here Komodo down to their last stock before the star player was going to be coming out, and Celicious slowly stocks are starting to trickle away, and we are tied 1-1 in this situation. But once both star players came out, it was all hands on deck, and it was so difficult for Powers to move away on the side of Celicious and to stay alive. And unfortunately, they just got themselves in a little bit too much trouble, and unfortunately cannot be revived by their teammate. Cody here playing a little bit more carefully, trying to save themselves and not get in the nitty-gritty of it, and leaving Power just kind of on their own and letting the teammates from Komodo to go in and strike, and a well-deserved victory for Komodo.
Perfect positioning as well. A great pincer movement to try and press them up against the back of the map. There's little room for error there, so if they do get that chill, get knocked in the air, there's a likelihood that they could get knocked off the map. It's a little bit tougher to get over there, less room to maneuver. Overall, Komodo clearly knew what they were doing. Impressive stuff all night long, consistently performing. All of them, each member. For me, there really wasn't one standout person. You saw it in the stats. You saw it across the games. Everybody contributing here, and I think that's what made this team so special here tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very, very special. Komodo did not drop a single game here. They're walking away with the grand prize of $5,000, which is of $3,000, which is absolutely crazy. 5,000 total on the line here. So Celicious walking away with a good chunk themselves too. They've got to pat themselves on the back because they did such a good job. Let's take a final look at the bracket here and see how all of the teams did tonight before we end the day. But of course, here we see the upper bracket Komodo winning that grand finals in a 3-0 fashion, the only best of 5 here of tonight. And they didn't have an easy journey. No teams had an easy journey getting to where they did before, but they did such a good job. And of course, we can't forget Celicious making that incredible losers bracket run, winning 3 in a row, getting 3 2-0s back to back to back.
And of course, a shout out to our 4th place finisher, I'm Foaming there, who did go down 2-0 to Celicious there. FOAMSTARS with some incredible gameplay here tonight as well, taking that 3rd place prize. Overall, $500 to that 3rd and 4th, $1,000 to 2nd, and of course that $3,000, and of course the title of Glorious Party Grand Finals champions for Komodo. I'm really impressed, especially considering how long the game has been out. These players were really able to take the time to get really good with some of these characters and show why they deserve to be here. There's so much specialization that can happen, so much strategy, so much depth that I think a lot of average players like myself, like some people just picking up the game, might not see until they watch these guys compete.
Right, you never know what you're capable of until you see the best of the best do it, and it's not too early to be the best of the best. Clearly, Komodo are claiming that crown right now, and well-deserved too. Again, not only winning the tournament, but winning without dropping a game has definitely got to be something that they are very proud of.
Absolutely. I mean, really impressive overall. We've said it time and time again. We've praised these guys, but of course, they won the whole darn thing. It was somebody we looked at early on in the day, a really impressive quarterfinal, and they kept rolling with the momentum. Keep in mind, too, they had to take a little break there, too. They made it through that upper bracket grand finals. Of course, pick your poison. I, of course, would be right there with them. I'd rather just keep winning. You don't want to be sitting down, but at the same time, if you have an extra life, you're definitely going to take it, but they don't even need it. They did it in a 3-0 sweep towards the end. Each game, of course, getting a little progressively tougher for them, but nonetheless, they still escape with their lives. Overall, more than deserved for Komodo.
Yeah, certainly. I'll give my final thoughts here with this game. I mean, these players show what the game is capable of, which is absolutely crazy. There's so many layers of what is possible. It's not your traditional, shooter game. There's a lot more mechanics at stake that you need to learn and kind of polish. It's very teammate heavy too. You can't have one player who's going to just completely carry the entire time and, march their way to victory. This is definitely a team effort game, and I'm just so excited to see where it's going to go from here.
Yeah, the future of FOAMSTARS is definitely looking bright. I think that's my biggest takeaway from the night. I think overall we really saw the nuance that can go into this strategy that goes alongside it, and I'm excited to see what the people watching at home are able to come up with as well here.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. But Kenny, that is going to be it for us. This has been such a pleasure casting the Glorious Party with you, FOAMSTARS debut tournament here on the PlayStation Network. So, Kenny, thank you so much for joining me on the cast. Where can we find you?
You can go over to Kenny Cast and check me out, and of course Falco Flyer 11 for my main man here. It's been awesome to cover the first ever FOAMSTARS tournament. Major shout out to PlayStation Tournaments for hosting this, for putting it forth, for the excellent team behind us that make me look way better than I actually look with ESL. Shout out to our production team behind us. Thank you all at home for making this possible, for watching, and of course our players who awesomely showed up here tonight, put on a show for every one of us here. With that being said, that's going to be a sign off from us. Until next time, enjoy and keep foaming.
PlayStation.
Gaming is defined by moments.
It is intense.
The joy of victory and the thrill of overcoming challenges. Welcome to our home of competitive gaming, where we can all experience exciting esports moments.
The final 1v1 of the game here.
And celebrate the pros and the rising stars.
I do want to see a female in the NCS.
Bringing you guides and deep dives.
Horizon can go up, but she can't go up fast.
And tournaments where the community competes.
Wait! Did he go? No way!
Whether you're in a heated match,
Back, let's go.
or watching along at the edge of your seat.
A duo taking down a trio.
Let's create moments from the games you love.
I'll take it.
Join us and subscribe to our channel to follow everything esports on PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Enlist in the galaxy's elite fighting force. Work together to protect your future. Join the Helldivers, the galaxy's last line of offense.
PlayStation.
Ain't nobody else, I see you. Ain't nobody else, I see you. Ain't nobody else. So don't let there be any doubt.
right between your knees. Can't you hear the call? Can't you hear it screaming?